that's the thing with video games. Like, to me, that they're just for you to chill out
escape,
and relax on. However, that some people might want to compete and get yelled at by 10-year-olds. I don't. That is not how I decompress. I want something I can sit alone in the dark and lose myself into another world. And that other world does not involve people kicking my butt. It involves being immersed in a narrative, in a world, sometimes even setting it to easy, not even worrying about anything. So.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just need a win. You're like, I'm going to put this on novice mode. That way I can win easily and just feel a little better about myself.
Well, like, I think about like Indiana Jones. Like, he doesn't have to shoot his bad guys more than once.
Right.
No, they go down. I'm like, that. I want to be Indiana Jones. Boom, gone. Like, Luke Skywalker. Like, everybody misses but me. Boom, boom. Dead. Stormtrooper, down. Like, there you go.
James Bond, too.
That's what. Exactly. That's what the hero does. I want to be the hero. If I shoot a bad guy, I want him to go down.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I don't want realism. I get too much of that in real life.
None of that. I get too much realism in real life.
I do.
All right. 134, eh?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Gracious me.
Oh, this date's not today.
Well, I'm...
All right.
I'm ready.
Right?
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 134 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet.
I'm Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to be talking about if we would still use fountain pens if we weren't in the business, tips for finicky pens right out of the box, finicky nibs specifically, if all JoWo nibs are the same across various pen brands that use them. We'll be talking about this thing called Chrono Trigger, which I have no idea what it is, but Drew does, and y'all do, some of you. We are going to be talking about variance of the LAMY aion and dialogs. We'll be spotlighting the enormous Montegrappa Frankenstein limited edition pen, which is going to be quite a thing to look at. It's like a diorama. It's pretty crazy. And you'll get to see me do some destruction on my tractor. Or will you?
For real this time?
I don't know. You'll have to stay tuned to find out. Also, it's Mother's Day this weekend, so happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers and people who came from mothers. Let's all celebrate that this weekend on Sunday. So anyway, that's what we got for this episode. Let's start it off with some feedback.
All right. Feeding back to us today are sneezing comments.
Oh.
So Brian and I both recently turned 40 and such. We are lamenting kind of the check engine light period of our lives. And I expressed that I was afraid of injuring myself while sneezing, which is a very real thing and honestly a semi-serious concern. Never fear. We have our friends out there in YouTube land coming to our rescue
some advice?
And giving us some both entertainment and advice. Yes, one of each.
Okay.
So John Antonioni says, "Ha! Injured because of a sneeze. When I was 42, I sneezed and gave myself a double hernia."
Oh, man.
Yeah, that stuff happens
That
now.
does not sound fun.
Welcome to your Carlsberg years, gentlemen. I'm quite embarrassed, so for some months post-surgery, I outright lied and blamed it on a hockey game.
That's awesome.
John, that is amazing.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
I like that.
That's brilliant. It was totally a hockey game. Yeah.
A double hernia. Dang, that sucks.
Yeah, from a sneeze.
I could see that happening.
But you know what, John? If you had Philip Franco 55 give you some information, maybe you could have avoided that hockey injury. Because Philip Franco 55 says, about sneezing, if you feel a big one coming, tilt your head up. Do not tilt your head down when you sneeze. That is how you can hurt yourself sneezing. I should clarify. Don't just tilt your head down when sneezing. That is when you can get hurt. I should clarify. Just don't tilt your head. Oh, just don't tilt your head down. That's what hurts. Keeping your head looking straight ahead or angled up is good. So allegedly, according to Philip, sneezing down, which is what we're all accustomed to doing reflexively, that's where the gnarly stuff can happen. That's where we get double hernias. So next time you sneeze, Brian, ka-choo.
Very COVID friendly. Just
ka-choo. Out in the
look
atmosphere.
Up and just let it blast across the entire room. Let everybody
ka-choo.
share it.
Ka-choo.
Yeah, you're like dabbing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would do that.
What about just straight ahead?
It's just like yelling it.
With eye contact.
Again, my sneezes are very violent, so it would be difficult for me to just stay looking straight ahead.
I'm going to do that next time. I'm going to look right at the nearest person.
just look right at him. That would be very scary.
I can't wait.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Philip.
I'll have to try that.
Either you have helped us or you will be enjoying a joke at our expense. Either way,
wow.
Congratulations. Julie Larry says, I love my Opus 88s. Kay, who we featured in the Meet the Team segment last week, could get the new Kitty Opus 88 to match her Hello Kitty shirt, which she was wearing at the time. Happy birthday, Brian. Thank you for all of the kind comments about Kay. Everybody was saying really nice things. There were more than one person that was saying, I'd recently worked with her and she helped me through this thing. But I did want to choose this particular comment because Kay had yet to, a year in, she still hadn't chosen her 90-day pen.
Oh, yeah.
Or her year pen.
Okay.
So she expressed that to the Pencast viewers, and there was a lot of feedback. And this person, Julie Larry, actually hit the nail on the head because Kay did, in fact, purchase, with their points, the Kitty Opus 88.
Hey, look at that.
Contributing to the fact that we're sold out of it now. So, sorry, Kay. But yes, you're correct. That is exactly what she picked. She's loving it. She's so happy with her decision.
She was just waiting for that pen to arrive.
Apparently
That's what it
she was, yeah.
We didn't have that for the last year. That's a newer thing for us.
And then finally, Blythe Tretic says, I love my TWSBI Precision. I'm not really sure what that means, TWSBI Precision.
It's a pen. It's a pen model that you keep forgetting about.
The Precision.
Precision, yep. Yep, it's the metal one.
We still carry it?
Yeah, we still.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that. That's it for me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I got one from Martha Malberg. Happy birthday, Brian. What a gift you have given the community with Sax on a Tractor. What an instant classic.
Y'all were great.
I'm glad you all enjoyed that very much.
The comments were
that was a lot of fun.
Excellent, everybody.
Y'all were so yeah.
Y'all really pulled together.
Was delightful. Fun fact, Rachel's family, I did the exact same thing to them on my little family text chain. I was like, hey, latest Pencast, and I linked right to that part. I was like, I played the saxophone on the tractor. Go check it out. And got all of them too. It was wonderful.
Oh,
wonderful.
Man.
So now you have to guess. Today will I be showing you something on my tractor today? I don't know. We'll have to find out. All right. Edward Stats says, do not listen to Drew about the playset. Oh. Well, sorry, Edward. That is exactly what my later feature will be about. More about that in What's Happening. Okay, Manga Zero, sorry. I really wish TWSBI would make an Iris Vac Mini.
Ooh.
That would be really good looking.
Yeah, you were talking about how you wanted more Vac Minis.
Yeah, that would be good. I have the Vac 700R in Iris, but I really want a pocketable one. That would look really good in an Iris. See, I was thinking more like a tinted, like the resin tinted, not just like but I mean, I would take an Iris Vac Mini. Heck yeah, that would be awesome.
They haven't done a full barrel tinted TWSBI since the 540 days, have they?
They did. They had some Vac 700 early on as well.
That's right.
They had the blue one.
Back when they were Bach nibs.
Yeah, this was like way back in the day, like over a decade ago, I think. Yeah. If you go back to some of our earliest videos, I think we have some of those shown, but it's been a while. All right. The Diamond Lion says, for Brian, a collab with Steel plus Travelers plus Namiki Emperor Makie. Call it the working man's rugged fancy fountain pen. Oh my gosh.
You got to read this with an accent, please.
You can wrote all your big college words in an elegy, right?
Yeah.
To all the logs you buried in the yard.
Poetry.
Wow. That is something. We live in an area where people talk like that a lot, which is funny because you and I both grew up around here, but we don't have Southern accents.
I'm sure I have a Southern accent to somebody out there, but it's not a comparatively,
Yeah.
if you went in other places in Virginia, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely comes out. I have my moments.
They can come out sometimes?
Shannon being from Virginia Beach catches me.
Yeah?
In enough words.
She'll catch you? Is it like when you get mad or something?
No,
it like slips out?
It's when certain... I just get lazy.
Oh, yeah.
I had, for years, had to relearn to not say water.
Water?
Yeah. So I have to say water.
What? Water?
So for years of... And she helped...
Pass me that water.
She kindly helped me get over this by mercilessly mocking me every time I did it. So.
Well, that is how she gets you on the straight and narrow.
Positive
you have a lot of
reinforcement.
things that need to be fixed, and she's taking you on as a project. Shadow Warmony. Oh my gosh. Oh, Shadow Harmonyify. Okay. Woo. Do any of the companies who make good paper for use with fountain pens make equally high quality index cards?
I had to include this because we were just talking about this.
Yes. So this is one of those things that are surprisingly hard to find. The answer is most of them don't, other than, like cardstock. Like there's cardstock type products, but like actual index cards with like lines on it and stuff like that. I don't know of any American pen or American paper company that makes like really good. I mean, it could be. I haven't tried all index cards.
I'm sure there's some out there, but none are expressly made with fountain pens in mind.
So the only ones that we know of is made by Exacompta, which is part of the Clairefontaine family. So very good quality paper. We have literally carried them since the first order of fountain pen wares that we ever ordered back in 2009. And we have never dropped them. Like they've always sold just well enough to keep selling them. Now, for a while, it was only 4x6 size. They were only multicolored and grid lined. So it was kind of shocking that they sold as long and as well as they did. What do we still have today, Drew? Because this is one of those things.
We recently expanded because we did find out that they had more lined ones available.
And that Exacompta journal, too. That basic A5 journal.
We've got like 5 of these things.
Yeah,
oh
so
my God,
we have white index cards in lined 4x6 and graph 4x6 and blank as well. So lined, blank, yep. And we have 3x5s as well, lined, blank, and graph. And then those pastel index cards, those are the OGs. So the pastel index cards in 4x6 graph, that is the original product that we had from Exacompta.
There are only a few
14 years ago.
Things currently on our website that we had in that first shipment, and these are probably them.
Yeah, because it wasn't a lot of stuff that we
and then probably
carried
some
at first.
Urbane inks, probably
all
too,
the
right?
Urbane inks. Yep, all the Urbane.
Maybe
inks
some platinums.
No, we didn't have platinum.
Oh, that was
it.
The
Was
second.
just Clairefontaine, Rhodia, Urbane, Quo-Vadis, Exacompta. That was it. And then so like Clairefontaine Triomphe.
These index cards are not popular, but they're there and they have been there since day one.
They have. They're pricey. I mean, $7 for the 3x5s, which if you buy them at like a regular store, it's like $1. Yeah. But they're good quality. So if that's what you want, then you can get them. They are a thing. That's the only ones that I know of. Other people may have. This is where the comments would be really helpful. If there are others out there that are available, let everybody know. All right, that's it for feedback. Let's talk about some new stuff. All right, first off, we got some newbie news. The Astro Gem collection. These things, I mean, they're Benu. So I would say like they look crazy, but they look like Benus. But I don't know, I think they're a little crazy for Benu even. The shape of them is a little crazy.
Very, well, I can't describe them without it either seeming redundant or unnecessary because it's Benu.
They have shapes. There's shapes happening.
I was about to say
pens.
They're unconventional, but I'm like, all Benus are unconventional.
Yeah.
But I will say that they're less uniform and symmetrical than I think a lot of other Benus are.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So I do not know how to describe what shape these are.
Asteroidal.
There you go. Inspired by the shape of the interstellar asteroid Oumuamua. Oumuamua. Is that right? And the numerous social media comments suggesting that the asteroid has a Benu-like vibe. So they had their ear to the ground in the pen community. There's 7 designs. So there's all kinds of different colors. They all look crazy and amazing. I will say you would think that holding these in your hand would be like really awkward and weird, but actually everybody around our team is like, oh, these are a lot more comfortable to hold than I would have thought.
I've said that about every Banu.
Yeah. They do a really good job of like designing things with unconventional shapes and stuff like that that are still friendly to hold.
Yeah.
And plus they don't have like any sharp edges on anything. So they're really good about that. Everything is nice and rounded. So, you don't have any like thing digging into your hand or anything like that. But these are crazy looking. So there's Pallas, Apollo, Echo, Juno, Clio, Leto, and Midas, whatever.
I don't know.
How do you pronounce it? Leto. Leto. That's what I want to say.
They're all named after asteroids.
Yes.
So whatever, it's not Jared. It's an asteroid.
There you go. Maybe that's where I was like, I want to say Leto, but Leto is the name, right? Jared Leto. That's a thing,
yeah,
right?
but then I think that
I don't know who that is actually.
Jared Leto, he's an actor.
Yeah. Does he do like Marvel-y things, right?
No, he was the Joker in at least one DC, three
okay.
DC movies, and he was in Requiem for a Dream, and he's going to be in the new Tron movie, and he's just an overall crazy person.
Okay.
He's eccentric.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not seen any of these.
But then
films.
in Dune, there's a character named Leto Atreides. So it could be Leto. I don't know.
Well, there you go. We got 7 designs. These pens are $175. So they're up there for a menu. But they look pretty cool. Go check them out. You should at least go look at them just to see what they are because there's nothing else quite like them. Next, we have a new Delta pen. This is a pen that Delta has never done before.
I'm excited about this one.
Yes. The name looks a little wild. So if you're reading it online and you have no idea how to pronounce it, it is pronounced Spacanopoly. So this is based off of, from what I understand, like a street in Naples. It's a pretty popular street. I don't remember the history behind this street.
All right, while the boys pontificate here about what they think this word means, I'll go ahead and tell you that it is actually the straight and narrow main center street that traverses the old historic center of the city of Naples, Italy. The word literally means Naples splitter, and it is derived from the fact that it is a very long street, and from above, it seems to divide that part of the city.
So this is a new model. So this is a stainless steel nib, which they're using JoWo for their nibs, which is great because they're quite good. This pen is $120.
What?
Which is, very much
Delta?
on the affordable end for a Delta.
Does it look like a plasticky piece of something that doesn't actually look like a Delta pen, or does it actually look like,
this looks like a pen that like Delta actually made. Like,
dang,
it's the same process. It's a little simpler pen, I guess, than some of the other ones, and obviously a steel nib instead of gold keeps it more affordable. But yeah, like made in Italy. This is a cast material. It is not injection mold. I mean, it's the real deal.
It's turned out of a solid piece. Yeah,
it's cool, and it's got like it's the flecked material, which I know.
Yeah,
a lot of people are big fans of.
And one plain black one.
Yeah. So we have 3 different standard colors that they're going to have in the line: Filamerino blue, which I think looks amazing, Sarah Casano brown, and Dangio, which is like a red. No, that's the black.
That's the black one.
That's the black one. Yeah. Okay, but so like a blue, brown, and red. Yeah. And these are cartridge converter pens, standard international. Comes with a converter, so that's kind of cool. And they're slightly smaller than some of the other ones that we have had from Delta, if you're familiar with those, like the Duna and the Dolce Vita, definitely smaller than the Dolce Vita or the DV original oversize.
Yeah,
that thing's a monster.
It's more like the mid-size one.
Yeah. But it's not a small pen. It's just like, I think this is a good like all-around size pen.
It is.
So I'm hoping that this will be like a pretty popular pen for Delta. I think it'll be a really good introduction for a lot of people to try the reborn Delta that they are now. And we had an opportunity to do an exclusive one as well, which we don't have in the list here. But am I allowed to talk about that yet?
I don't know.
It's coming out. So yeah, we should have it. We should have it by Friday, I think.
We don't have it on the website yet, so I left it alone.
Well, that's because we don't have it photographed, but you should see it by Friday, I think, by the time we launch this. So we are doing our own exclusive color of it called Terra, which is like a brown and blue flecked. So Yes, we haven't had that on the website yet because we haven't had any pictures of it. We have to take it ourselves.
Yeah.
But Glenn's photographing it like right now. So we'll have it by the end of this week. But anyway, so that'll be kind of cool. And it's cool, Delta, they do running numbers on these pens. So it's not like a limited edition out of anything, but they do they start with number 1 and just kind of go on up. So every pen you get is numbered. So it's kind of unique to you. And then the last pen that I have to talk about is the Montegrappa Frankenstein, which is a $10,000 pen. And you are going to see that later today in the spotlight. The thing is a monster. Like in my head.
Yes.
I just naturally went there, but it's really beastly. You will see it and you will be shocked. Anyway, that's what I got.
That was another double entendre.
Be shocked. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm on fire. I swear I didn't mean that. Anyway, go ahead, Drew. What do you got?
All right. We've got some new Manyo inks, man.
Ooh.
And we are talking the 50 mil bottled ink. These are all going to be $24 from Sailor. Once again, another Manyo collection. These are, I'm not entirely sure of the theme. They vary, and I'll just kind of run through them real quick for you. We've got Himayuri, which is a star lily, allegedly, and that's an orange color, approximately. Asagiri is morning fog, or pink. Fog's different in Japan. It's pink. Ishi is called Pebble, translated, and it is a green ink. You've got Yu, and that is sunset, or brick red in this case. And then finally, Tsuyu, which is a navy ink, and that translates to dew.
Dew.
So Yu and dew.
Cool.
You
Pink
and
fog, navy dew.
Yeah,
All kinds of colors going on.
things are different over there, man.
Cool.
And so those are neat. They're fun. Sailor makes good inks. These are good as well. My personal favorite, I think, is Yu. No,
I
but
like
seriously,
you too, Drew.
it's that nice brick red. It's a really rich red.
Okay.
I personally
I feel like
don't
Sailor doesn't
see.
have a lot of reds like
No,
that.
not really
They
saturated
don't have like
ones.
big punchy reds.
Yeah, so that one struck me. Hopefully, we don't see barnacles on that one, but I think I might ink it up. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, it'd be
So,
interesting.
yeah, check you out.
Cool.
All right, next up we got a Waldman. This is a Tango Imagination in sapphire. So this is another sterling silver pen, as Waldmans are, and you've got a bluish base, but with the guilloche running throughout the pen, the blue is subdued quite a bit. You really catch it only at certain angles. Sometimes it looks very silvery, sometimes it looks very bluey. It really depends, because the guilloche is not one straight line. They're interrupted with these kind of notches, these kind of triangular interruptions within the lines that make it look really cool. You can really get lost in the texture of this pen. Of course, this is under lacquer, so nothing is.
You don't feel it.
No, it's very, very comfortable to hold. And
It's striking. It catches the light.
it's a beautiful pen. And the
blinging.
Tango, in my mind, is actually a really well-balanced pen from Waldman. Some of them can be heavy. The Tangos, I don't think are. I think with the cap off the pen.
Yeah, I was gonna say posted. It'd be a bit much.
that's a bit
but
much.
Without
So
posted.
I think this is actually very comfortable.
It's
So
a relatively thin pen too. So
It
it's
is.
like it's dense. It's got a little bit of weight to it, but it's very, very comfortable to hold. Yeah.
it's still substantial. So there are only 200 pieces made, and these are selling for $480. They feature an 18-karat two-tone gold nib.
It's a good looking nib.
Stunning nib.
Waldman's got
Waldman
a
has
hot-
some
hot
of the
nib.
best.
Hot nib.
That's right. And then we've got a king of pens showing up in
Hello.
our store this week.
So I'm talking about.
The OKOP.
That's right.
And this one is a bespoke offering, Brian. So a little bit more on the rare
them
side.
spokes.
Yep. So bespoke. This is a Tamanori Murasaki pen, and I learned that Tamanori is the type of urushi style, but Murasaki is purple in Japanese.
Yes,
Didn't know
that's
that.
right. Murasaki Shikibu.
I know Murasaki Shikabu is
It's a purple.
purple. I always thought it just sounded like a name to me. I'm like, who is Murasaki Shikabu? I don't know. I feel super dumb. Anyway, I'm smart now, so behold.
That's
This
right.
is $1,595. It is a large pen. It is an urushi pen, and it is signed by the artist on every one of them. So it really is a special pen. Even more special is the fact that it's only out of 100 made, and that is
Hot dang.
all time. So we're not going to get too many of these. There are not many of these available.
It also has a big, beautiful nib on it.
Big, beautiful 21
In
karat
case you never heard that.
Sailor King of Pen nib. Yes. Brian just discovered how he likes those.
Yeah, it's a
just
recent discovery of mine.
very recent.
Yeah.
And that is what's new.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Couple quick company updates, and then we can do Q&A after that. Well, we have some video.
Some video.
I was going to say some video. Well, we have a What's New.
Yes, we will have a What's New.
That you will have done.
Yep.
He has yet to record it, but it will be published
It's be
by the time this comes out. So Drew's going to have a Pencast What's New sandwich, where the Pencast is the bread and the What's New is the meat or the peanut butter or whatever.
Meat and peanut butter.
Marshmallow fluff.
Who doesn't love a meat and peanut butter sandwich?
I remember as a kid, I was like, I love bologna sandwiches. I love peanut butter. Why don't I do them both together? It was okay. It wasn't great. My pride, I think, as a kid was like, yeah, I like this, but I think I only made it once, and I was like, yeah, I can keep these separate from now on.
I mean, peanut butter can kind of overpower just about anything, I feel.
Yeah, it complements a lot of things really well, but then the things it doesn't complement,
probably not bologna.
It has epic battles. Yeah.
Bologna battle.
Yep, that and Chinese food and orange juice together, like drinking orange juice with your Chinese food meal.
I mean, they have orange
chicken. I found that
chicken.
was not. Yeah, but that's different.
It is.
It's not good. It's not good. These are some of the things that I remember from being a kid of like, well, I like these two things separately, so if I had them together, I should like them, right? No, not always. Anyway, we have another video about falcon nibs. What is up? Demystifying the falcon nibs.
Because there's some reason to be
stuff to talk about.
Confounded.
This is like a more pen nerdy style video that I put together, talking about the falcon, the FA nib, and the falcon on the Battle Falcon and the regular falcon, and what is up with all that stuff. So, yeah, go check that one out if you haven't seen it already. And then we've done some other stuff here. We had some CPR training, some first aid stuff that we did here. We've been working on some phishing scam and internet security type stuff. So this is all inside baseball about what we got going on. But, you know, this is also that we are doing behind the scenes to take care of our people and ourselves. So that's been fun. And yeah, just getting smarter, trying to be prepared for crazy things happening. Speaking of which, we're about to enter into Q&A. So I'm glad we're prepared for crazy things to happen because we got some questions. Let's get into it.
All right, kicking us off this week, we have Anima.
Hello.
Brian, if you didn't co-own the company with your wife, would you still use fountain pens? If yes, what is it that keeps you excited and interested about fountain pens? And if you, Drew, didn't work for the GPC, would you still be into fountain pens? If yes, what keeps you hooked? Thank you for your dedication to the Pencast and for all of the good content you both create. You're a huge inspiration to me. Greetings from beautiful Cyprus.
Wow, Cyprus.
Fantastic.
Very cool. Beautiful place. Okay. You want me to go first?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we got a menagerie of questions here between the two of us. Cacophony, one could say. That's the word I was actually meaning to say. Menagerie doesn't make any sense, but let's get into it. So if I didn't co-own in this situation, do I co-own it with somebody else, just not my wife? Or if this is just like...
Undetermined.
If I don't own the company. Okay. I kind of joking about that. I wouldn't be in this company if I didn't own it with my wife because we started it together. I would like to think that I would still be into fountain pens. It's so hard for me to separate that out because my story is so intertwined. Like this company existed with my discovery of fountain pens, and the two were inextricably tied. So I'd never used a fountain pen before starting this, but I was already making pens as a pen maker, just not fountain pens. So it seemed like fate was drawing me to fountain pens as a natural conclusion of the pinnacle of writing experience that I was seeking to attain. Because I mean, literally, it was when I was making ballpoint, like, you know, little kit pens that you turn out of wood and press them together and stuff like that. I started out with ballpoint pens and I was like, oh, ballpoints are terrible, you know, because I had like a nice pen. I was like, oh, but these write so bad. It's like it doesn't live up to the writing of the pen. So I got into like roller balls, like the gel roller balls, and I was like, this is so much better. But you know, that's what I was like. That was my jam for a couple of years. That's basically what I put in everything. Like I would buy a kit pen, throw out the refill, and put in like a Parker gel refill or like a Montblanc, you know, depending on the style of pen.
Or cross, I think sometimes.
Cross, it would fit those as well.
Yeah,
cross.
I think mine had a cross in it.
Yeah. So both of them had good roller balls. So yeah, that's what I was doing already. So it was kind of natural. As soon as I discovered fountain pens, I was like, oh, this is like what I was actually looking for. I just didn't know that existed. So I feel like had I not actually like gotten into the fountain pen business, I still would have like arrived at that, like, oh my gosh, this is the type of writing experience that I've been looking for. So I would like to think that I still would have been into them. I just don't know that I would have ever discovered fountain pens had I not already been making pens in the pen business. And technically we were the Goulet Pen Company at that time. We don't consider that like our anniversary. Our anniversary is November 17th, 2009, because that's when we got our first shipment of fountain pen things. But I was still making pens prior to that, and our name was registered and everything, Goulet Pens.
And you had made at least one fountain pen, right?
I'd made a couple of fountain pens, yeah.
With the kits.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't actually ever write with them. I just pressed them together into kit, because I was like, I don't know, people want to buy a fountain pen. Like, I made them all the same, which also was like, I had no idea anything about nibs and all that. I was like, whatever comes in the pen, I guess. And but so I think I still would have probably gotten into them, but no way would I have gotten as into them as I did, especially because I had no money at the time. Like, we were very young when we started this business, had kids young, all that kind of stuff. I really didn't have any room in my life for hobbies. So I would have probably bought, a few pens to kind of get an experience and find some reliable ones that I was into, and then probably would have stopped. And then, maybe casually kept into it. But I also didn't know anybody in my life that used fountain pens. So it's not like I had a friend that introduced me to it. I feel like if I had somebody who was really into it, then I probably would have naturally been more into it. Or probably would have recruited somebody else into it, to be honest, because that's what I do. Let's see here. What else was I going to say about that? What keeps me interested and excited? Okay. For me, it's you all, like the people in the pen community, because it's like we've been doing this for like a minute now, and I have a lot of pens and I have a lot of pen memories, to fall back upon. Lived a lot of good things, but I mean, we've been working full time on pens. Specifically Rachel and I, like even pre-fountain pens, like since 2007. So I've been thinking about pens pretty much full time since 2007. That's a long time.
And Brian's days don't
to be thinking about
end
pens.
at 5
No.
at the same way mine does. I do.
Yeah.
I have some crossover, but not to the extent that business owners have a crossover.
Yeah, you never
That's
really
different.
stop thinking about it fully.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what I signed up for. But so I mean, just new people continuing to be excited and engaged and enjoying what we do and the content we put out, like that keeps me really excited and interested. So that's really cool. And then just like relationships that we've developed over long periods of time, that also is really rewarding as well. Good people in the industry. So like relationships we have with our suppliers, with different manufacturers, the more we get to know how pens are made and supply chain stuff, the more we appreciate like just how hard it is to make these things and how much of a passion and a labor of love that it really is for pretty much every pen brand. Like even the major pen brands, fountain pens are such a small portion of their total sales in the potential market. They're clearly not doing it just because they're trying to maximize, profitability. They're doing it because they love it, which is really cool. And it's a very rewarding aspect of just getting to deal with everybody, kind of on the back end of things. And honestly, just like us plugging into that and getting to be a part of all of it. So we get to, we're kind of like a liaison between manufacturers, distributors, and, you all pen users. Of course, we're pen users ourselves. We relate a little closer to you all than we do to manufacturers. But we really get to kind of understand and help manufacturers understand more what pen people want. And then, y'all as pen people, we get to talk about all the inside stuff that we know and have learned. So it's really cool to just like see how we get to kind of play that part and really add value in the pen community. So that's what I find most rewarding now, having invested a lot of time into it. Plus making content is fun. I just like making videos. And talking.
You've mentioned before, if you didn't go down the fountain pen route, you would probably still end up having made content for like woodworking or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually already looking into that. So like the fountain pen thing specifically was not even really how Goulet Pens started. Like I was thinking of as, as a pen craftsman, pen maker. When I started the blog and I was doing that, I was kind of making some of that content. In fact, our first ever video, 2 videos actually, because we had to split it up because of time limitations on YouTube. But the first video we ever published on our YouTube channel was a tour of my workshop and all that kind of stuff. So we show like the bookcases and whatnot of paper products and ink and stuff that we had, but most of it was a tour of the tools and stuff that I had used. So I definitely would have gone more that route had I gone more that route.
And I wonder if, in the, small wood goods route, I think it's not unlikely that you wouldn't have encountered some segment of fountain pen hobbyist in that,
it's very possible,
that timeline.
Yeah. Well, especially having made pens, like that was an inevitability. Yeah.
I think you would have crossed over a bit. So maybe they would have come into your life eventually anyway.
I mean, like most of us here, I have a propensity towards collectibles and hobbies that are very strongly overlapping with fountain pens. So I have a hard time believing that I would have gone multiple decades in my life without ever having come across fountain pens. I feel like that would have been something that I would have discovered at some point anyway. But who knows? We'll never know in an alternate timeline how that would have turned out. But I'm glad I discovered them when I did, because it's really changed my life quite a bit, as you could imagine. So
yeah.
What about you, Drew?
I don't know if I would have encountered them. That's a blank spot for me. So I had a retail. I would definitely, if I encountered them, if I was exposed to them in a meaningful way, then yes, I would absolutely be into fountain pens. Not to the extent that I am. I would probably cap myself off at at 10 or so.
Yeah.
Just based on the other analog hobbies that I do have, I'm mildly interested in watches. I'm mildly interested in folding knives and things like that. But I don't have more than like 5 of each. So that works, or 6, 7, fewer than 10.
I would say you have,
probably.
I was gonna say you have a good history of getting into things, but not so far. Like your arbitrary rules that you set up for yourself means you have a lot of collectibles and a lot of hobbies, but it's not like rooms filled with things.
Yeah.
I tend to go deeper and harder on fewer things.
Yeah. Well, you have more of a thirst for holistic knowledge than I do.
Yeah.
Like when you get into something, you want to learn all about that thing, the history of that thing.
Yeah.
And that then leads you to more interest, which then leads you to more purchasing. And you have the knowledge of, like, if you didn't know what 40 different hammers could be used for, you wouldn't have 40 different hammers. Like, you have those because you have the knowledge of the practical use.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where I don't have that thirst for knowledge like you do. So they're like, so you still have a controlled passion. It's led by a thirst for knowledge and information. So I have had, a pretty lengthy, exposure to big box retail prior to working here. Enough that I would, kind of be exposed to enough obsessions like car audio or TVs or, phones, or even, this was the iPod, time, we were selling those hand over fist, and, or, computers, things like that. And none of those hooked me. I was super into video games, super into movies, definitely collected both of those. But that was it. Even the things that I learned a lot about and sold, I didn't really get into them. Like, I wanted a decent TV, but as far as like the refresh rate and all this, I'm like, whatever, as long as it looks okay. And I had a surround sound system one time. I'm like, all right, this is neat, but I'm not doing this again. It's too many wires. So I've been exposed to enough there that, like, I would have gotten into something. But when I got my job here, I got into fountain pens quick.
Yeah,
like,
you did.
It was not. It was different.
It wasn't even like, I didn't even like get you into fountain pens.
It was legit. So that's how I know that I would definitely still be interested, because I can compare being exposed at a job to this thing to other jobs where I was exposed to something I could have equally have gotten into and didn't. So definitely the fountain pens hit differently with me. So I would certainly be into them.
Essentially, that's what happened to you, though. Like, you were hired, but you were like just shipping stuff out of my garage. Yeah. It wasn't like because you had an interest in pens. No. Like, you were exposed to pens through your workplace. Right. It just, you happened to be working at a pen company. So.
Yeah. But I definitely got hooked, and I got hooked faster than, normal, and faster than I have had at previous retail jobs where the products that we sold, I did not care about. So it definitely happened more legitimately. However, I just can't, if I didn't get my job here back in like 2011 or whatever, I don't know if I would have encountered anybody that would have introduced me to them. I've never met anyone in my personal life that owned like and used a fountain pen. Not casually. Like I have one friend that's, into antiques and vintage stuff, and he has like a couple, but he doesn't talk about them. Like the only reason he mentioned it to me is because he knows that I work here. So
But I wonder if you would have been introduced to them through social media eventually. Like
I don't know. Like I don't.
It wasn't really that much of a thing when you first started here. Like we were doing some social media, but it was not like it is today. So like, I mean, because you overlap with a lot of interest that other people in the pen hobby
both
have.
my watch interest and my knife interest and a lot of these other things happened because of people I met in the fountain pen world.
Yeah, but maybe you would have like still like seen like I don't know, maybe you would have gotten more into knives first and then found pens.
I don't know if I would have gotten into any of it.
We can never know.
Yeah,
right?
so
we can never know, but
I don't know for sure. I can say that and coins too. I got into coins because of an electrician that was here working at Goulet. So like a lot of my hobbies came from tangential interactions with members of, this periphery. So it's a big question mark. Like the kind of the willingness and the interest is there, but I don't know how long it would have stayed dormant because I don't know if the exposure would have happened.
But if you had some like desk job and you either met somebody at work who was independent,
that would have helped so much.
Or you like found through your like social media stuff, people who are using it. Because I remember like in school and stuff, you were always like doodling and drawing.
Oh
and,
yeah.
Like, so like the desire to like write was always there. And me, I was always like, I wasn't so much a doodler, but I would
tinkerer.
I would take apart my pen and pencil like 40 times a day in school. I mean, I was always tinkering with my writing instruments. So I think we were both just like,
we were ready.
We were ripe for it. We just needed to be introduced to it. So yeah. But what is it that keeps you hooked now, Drew?
Well, I will admit I have my lulls. And just like with any hobby, I will take breaks and, mentally kind of being like, I don't really want anything new right now. I'm like, I still think they're cool. Like I never really leave a hobby. Like any interest of mine, I pretty much stay interested in it forever. Yeah. I thought I lost interest in wrestling, but apparently that wasn't true.
They stayed dormant.
Everything's still there.
Yeah.
But unlike, like comic books, like I go up and down with comic books, but unlike comic books, if I'm not actively into comics and, having that collection fever, I don't really seek out the information about the new stuff. With fountain pens, when I have my lull, it doesn't take long for it to jump back up because I'm exposed to all the new stuff. It's not like I don't take breaks from seeking it out because I can't, because I work here. Yeah. So it lasts way shorter than any of my other hobbies.
It's like you're swimming in the Dead Sea. It's like even if you stop swimming, you're still
floating.
Just like floating there.
Exactly. Yes. That's a good comparison.
You're not going to drown.
Yeah. Like I'm not looking for any new coins, but there's no coins being thrown at me. Like I don't see any coins. I don't talk to anybody else who has coins. Like I don't get Instagram's not serving me up coin content, but with pens,
it's an opportunity there. Instagram.
Every lull I have is very quickly interrupted with something that I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. I'm into that now. And then I'm right back in.
Yeah.
So it's short-lived. So that's what keeps me interested. It's literally the exposure. And I have a propensity to be interested. I just need the right thing to come along. And luckily, working here comes along pretty quickly.
Yep. There you go. Cool.
And also the community on y'all too. Y'all are cool. Love you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Drew, Sparrow in the Sun has a question.
We got a twofer.
Oh, we do have a twofer. Well, Sparrow in the Sun has this question. Tips for preventing or working with hard starts. Hard starting nibs. And then Andrew has a question. How can you tell if a new pen has feedback versus needs nib repair, especially extra fine nibs, which you are a fan of? So please enlighten us.
This is a pretty complex question. And you might wonder, like, why is he picking this for a pencast? Well, it still gets asked, and it has been asked for years and years and years and years.
And it will continue to be asked.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to ignore it because a lot of folks are seriously wondering about this, which is why I did some videos on it. So I will cover a little bit here, but for the bulk of it, I want to just talk to you about 3 videos that I made about nib repair and troubleshooting. So video 1, I'm going to link all of these here and then below in the description. So video 1, boom. How to fix a scratchy nib. So this video focuses on how to diagnose scratchy versus feedback, and then what to do when you do, in fact, have a scratchy nib. And video 2, right here, This is called the how to fix skipping and hard starting. So this is if you do have that issue with flow, intermittent flow. Like sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not, or it sucks at the beginning of the word, but it's okay toward the end of the sentence. This video goes into depth about how you can fix and diagnose that situation. And then video 3 is called how to fix a pen that won't write at all. So this is a pen that isn't just writing intermittently, it's just dead. You see that there's ink in there, but for whatever reason, it's just not doing anything for you. So I detail that as well. So those 3 videos should keep you pretty well covered. Some of it has some overlap, so just pick whichever title seems to hit your bullseye the most as far as troubleshooting desire goes. And if that one doesn't work, pick a different one. We've got 3. They're all pretty robust, and I made a phone nib for them, so hooray for that. Real quick, though, I can at least answer this. Extra fine nibs almost always feel a little toothy if they're legit extra fine, because you're talking about writing with a very, very, very sharp, pointy piece of metal, and that's just not going to be a smooth experience. Some extra fines are kind of like more like fines, and those are smoother for sure. I still think that the vanishing point extra fine is pretty smooth for an extra fine. A lot of people are like, heck no, that is so toothy and feedbacky. I don't think so. For an extra fine as it is, I think it's super smooth.
It depends on your writing pressure.
Yeah.
I think you write with a lot of extra fines, so you're used to writing with a light hand.
Yeah.
My natural inclination is to press too hard, and then all extra fines feel terrible.
Yeah. And
until I consciously think like, oh, I got to lighten this up a little bit.
And that's a thing. So a toothy nib you'll feel that in all directions pretty consistently. If it's got some feedback or some texture to it, it'll feel that way no matter your positioning or which direction your stroke happens to be headed. A scratchy nib will be more harsh, more severe in its feedback, and will likely only happen in one direction. It definitely won't feel the same uniformly, wherever your strokes are. So that's a good way to tell whether or not you're dealing with something scratchy or feedbacky. More often than not, true scratchiness is a result of misaligned tines, which I go into detail on how to fix in those videos that I mentioned. But spoiler alert, it's just a matter of you using your fingers and moving your tines up and down so that they're even and balanced. So that is the gist of it. That is a very short way to cover a lot of details, but the details are covered more fully in the 3 videos I mentioned, as well as probably 10 videos that Brian has done in the past as well.
Yes.
So if you look for it
somewhere,
it's somewhere like Q&A videos or something. If you look for it, you will find it. But
include all those. It's probably 80 videos that I talked about it.
But these 3 can definitely take care of you. At least the broad strokes.
Cool. I have nothing to add. You covered that.
Awesome beans.
As concisely and also thoroughly as I think is
possible. we could definitely go into depth, but
we could. But you've already done that on other videos, and plus the other videos too. It's like we're not just trying to cop out. He does like really close up like macro shots and footage that show it way better than we could show it here. So that's part of it.
Brian, this is the best. This is the best we can do. Yeah,
representation.
The fist method.
Yes.
Yep.
Baby's bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We have a question from Zach Lemon coming up next. Brian.
All right.
And Zach wants to know, are all JoWo made nibs in the same size identical, or do they vary by pen brand?
That's a good question.
It is. It's interesting.
Yeah. The answer is sort of both. So if there is a standard size that's offered, like a number 5 or number 6, right? That's the ones that we talk about the most. They will be more or less similar to each other. So JoWo has like a, call it a stock nib that they offer. So this is pretty much any like independent pen maker that you see, the Edison, Franklin Christoph, our Goulet nibs, these are going to be ones that are from their like stock nib. Those are going to be identical except for any additional like tuning or smoothing or whatever that the end using company, like if Edison tweaks their nibs one way and Franklin Christoph does it another way, whatever they do to the tipping and will be different at that point. But the nibs themselves are made, basically the same. But that said, they white label and OEM a lot of nibs too. So some of which about, Delta, Conklin, Monteverde, those are all nibs made by JoWo. Diplomat is another one. So, and that's like pretty publicized. But there's other companies that maybe don't publicize it, that just have them made. And, I think JoWo and Bach both have a pretty decent reputation. So it's kind of like, why not say who makes them? Because then, that would help the reputation of the nib, generally speaking.
Montegrappa as well. Did you say them?
Montegrappa, no, I didn't say them. But yeah, Montegrappa's
they're
got
steel
JoWo.
nibs.
JoWo, yeah, they're steel ones, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pen companies that will use those, but like Montegrappa's, as an example, they rhodium plate all of theirs, even though it doesn't change the color because it's stainless steel is silver looking
and shouldn't change the tipping, but we don't.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah,
but I don't. So, but I know that the Conklin and Monteverde nibs, they commissioned JoWo to make those nibs, but the housing and the feeds that they use, because they'd already had a legacy of using other manufacturers for nibs in the past, they didn't want to have to literally retool every single pen that they make in order to fit a different thread and housing and stuff. So they continued using the same housing and feed, but had to, I think, tweak the specs ever so slightly. Maybe like the curvature was slightly different or something. So it's really close. But if you're trying to swap like a Monteverde or Conklin nib with, another brand like a Diplomat or a Montegrappa or something, it may take a little extra finessing.
One might feel a little bit more loose, one might feel a little bit more tight. But
yeah.
JoWo produces the Monteverde and Conklin nibs to their specifications.
Yeah. So that's one, publicly known example of, a company that's, well, I guess, actually any of the pen companies that are getting their nibs stamped, like their logo is stamped on there, which is Diplomat, which is Montegrappa, as opposed to laser etched. So like our nibs are laser etched, right? So we're buying the stock nib, essentially, getting our brand on it. But we didn't, because if you get them stamped, you have to pay for a mold, and you gotta you got to do that for, every single nib size, because the nib size is on there too. So, if you have a 5 nib offering, you got to get 5 different molds, 5 different stamps.
And there's probably a massive minimum to order as well. I don't know what it is, but it's not something we're doing.
Oh, you're into the minimally thousands, if not tens of thousands of nibs at that point. Plus you have to pay for the molds, and usually it's like a 12 to 18 month wait process that you have to wait to get those, which is why independent pen makers don't do that. Like, it does not make economic sense to do that at all, especially when they offer a standard nib that you can just brand yourself, and they're really good nibs. But if you're a major pen company and you need like your nibs, usually some kind of specification. So very long and roundabout answer is yes, like the standardized stock, JoWo nibs will all be identical to each other more or less, except for any tweaking that's done, at the final steps. But coming from JoWo, they'll all be the same. But there very well could be even number 5 and number 6 JoWo made nibs made specifically for a pen company that may have some different specifications. So it's kind of a bad answer, because it's like, it depends is the major answer.
I think that from what I understand, tipping material, I don't know if there's any manufacturer that I know of, any of the ones that we carry, that doesn't do a little bit of handwork with the tipping material.
Probably, yeah. I think it's pretty, at least like inspecting, adjusting.
Like they weld it on there with machines usually, but the polishing, I think most of it's by hand. I don't know what JoWo does though. I've never seen the JoWo factory. I don't know if they polish by hand or not. But it's such an odd process, because the weld is just not a uniform process. When they tack that whatever super hard alloy onto there, like about welding, like it's not you can't produce an identical weld every single time.
It's difficult.
But I can't imagine that it doesn't require some amount of handwork. So even the larger companies, you can't expect 100% accuracy.
Yeah.
99 maybe, 98 maybe.
Especially the finer the nib gets.
Yeah.
The harder it is to be truly standardized. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. But it is difficult, because when we talk about the standard JoWo nibs, like it can mean different things. Like usually when we're talking very casually about a number 5 or number 6 nib, like, oh, this pen has a number 6 nib, we're referring to basically just like the overall size. Like, you know about how big that nib is going to look on that pen. We're not necessarily talking about like all the specifications, because you can literally get into the curvature, the thickness of the metal, the alloy that makes up the nib, because that can vary. Stainless steel is an alloy, so you can mix the alloy to different specifications. And I'm sure, JoWo, Bock, any of them, I'm sure they can make whatever you want. They can do whatever, if you want something specific enough for your pen, they can do whatever. Bock has made nibs out of titanium and stuff like that. So obviously they all make them out of gold, various degrees too. So I think they have a lot of options. So I think most of the pen industry is not super standardized. It's not a highly commoditized industry. There are some standards that get adopted for like standard international cartridges and converters, for example, but it's all just like voluntarily that companies are choosing to offer those components. And it's kind of the same things with the nibs. It's like, if you think about most pen companies, other than like LAMY, who their nibs are interchangeable and they offer them themselves, or like the Vanishing Point with the nib units, that's cool versatility within a pen brand. But there's not a lot of pen companies that like try to make it so they can adapt other types of nibs or other pens. It's just, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense to do that. So you don't see a lot of standardization there. So more or less, like, unless something is specifically said, like a pen is specifically said, like it will take this housing, this nib, whatever, assume that it's probably not going to fit whatever the thing is that you're looking at. So,
and we keep learning of new things that manufacturers do to ensure that their feeds match their nibs as well. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we've been carrying a brand for a long time and then realize, like, oh wait, you do something special to this nib size to make it sure it fits. And they're like, oh yeah, if you take this nib that comes on a broad and you put it on something else, it'll be different. Like with Magna Carta, we realized that they've
got ebonite feeds.
Right.
That's a whole other thing.
Their ebonite feeds are made to fit, certain nib sizes.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, the channel or something, like the ink channel on there is different, or maybe the size of the something. I don't know.
Now we only carry their flex nibs in one size, and then the big mag, 1000 in one size. So it doesn't really pertain to the stuff that we carry.
Yeah, that's true.
But we did talk to him, and he's very intentional about each pen. So
I know we've talked with Philip at Twisby too, and I don't think it's like for every nib size, but I'm pretty sure the extra fine and fine nibs, those feeds have a slightly thinner channel than what you have for the mediums, broads, and stubs.
Yeah. Or the broad has thicker channels, something like that.
But there's some delineation.
Yeah, they do something.
Yeah. So, I mean...
And we didn't learn that until we had carried them for 5+ years.
Yeah, because you can't tell. Like, these are such small tolerance differences. You would never really be able to tell unless you knew. I mean, you're like talking like micrometer type.
So there's a lot that these manufacturers don't go out of their way to disclose. I'm pretty sure that Diplomat has a process that involves doing some, after production smoothing on their nibs.
I'm sure.
So you could say that that's likely at Montegrappa as well. So being JoWo nibs over there, you're going to see some.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to, because like, even if you get a nib made from anybody, by the time you go and install it on a pen, you got to double check that thing. Yeah. You got to fit it, because the feed has to fit right to the pen. Like, there's so much adjustments.
It's not going to be drastically different.
It's like if you make a suit, it's like you can make a suit, but in order to get to fit the individual, you got to tweak and tailor it. It's kind of like that. So there is definitely for pen. I mean, it's different for us because we just sell the spare nibs. But for any pen company that's using another manufacturer for their nib, they're going to have to tune and adjust and make it work on that individual pen.
Yeah, I want to say Diplomat. I don't know if I'm 100% on this, but I believe Diplomat glues their housings into their grip section too.
Oh,
I think that the feed and nibs pull out friction fit, but I think that the threaded housing, I think they affix that permanently into their grips.
Interesting. That could be, because I'm trying to think about if I've never like removed a housing from a Diplomat pen.
I think they do. It's been a while since I've tried,
okay,
but I believe that to be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Lots to learn.
Not complicated at all.
Yeah.
There's your super cut and dry black and white answer.
All right. Drew, are you ready to say everything in this next question? Because
I am a servant.
Zero to contribute.
I'm a servant of the people. What do they require of me?
All right. I have many, many people here. Knight JRL says, "Are you kidding? I would love a Chrono Trigger fountain pen special." Ronald Arca says, "Did I just hear Chrono Trigger? Hands up, you got to do it, Drew. Doodle Adventures. Drew, I would love to hear the Chrono Trigger comparison. The Seventh Rest. Drew dropping Chrono Trigger and saying nobody would care. Crying face." Laura says, "OMG Drew, Chrono Trigger, yes please. Even if you don't cover it in the Pencast, drop it in the comments here. This is vital information. It's like an ending we haven't unlocked yet." I'm going to let you take all of this because I even tried to Google and research it, and I didn't even understand what I was reading to get smarter about it. So please, what in the world is any of this about?
I said offhandedly at some point about doing, because this was in response to our last thing where I did like the Ninja Turtles or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you said,
you were talking like Final Fantasy.
We were like, what else could you do?
That
I'm like,
came up.
I don't know, maybe a Chrono Trigger or something like that, but nobody cares. And then this was in response to
Is that all that it was? 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember vaguely mentioning that.
It was
but-
barely a comment.
Yeah, okay.
I just kind of threw it out there.
But a bunch of people responded.
Yes. So I
you go.
really didn't think there'd be that many of you that cared, but apparently
This is
there
how it
are.
goes. This is how it goes
I won't
sometimes.
spend a ton of time on this because I know this is pretty narrow. So if no one else has ever heard about the Super Nintendo classic Chrono Trigger, one of the greatest, if not the greatest RPG of all time, don't worry about it. I'm not going to make you linger. But for those of you who do know what's up, this is for you. Oddly enough, the main character, whose name is Chrono, without an H, he was the hardest because he's one of those silent protagonists, like Link. He doesn't really talk. So he's got crazy red hair. He's got a samurai sword. That's about it.
Okay.
He also, in the game, dies, and you can choose to bring him back if you want to. So I'm like, all right, has there been a pen that has died and come back?
Oh, they've been several.
Delta.
Oh,
So
yeah, like the whole brand.
I was
Sure.
like, man, let's make Chrono a Delta because Delta died and came back. So
All right.
I thought maybe we could say that
They've also done a bunch of red pens too. So I mean, that's
so
kind of
Chrono could be a Delta. We could just do a DV original, mid-size, something like that. Or if you just wanted to go the crazy red top route, there happens to be a Pilot Kakuno with a red cap. So you could go with either of those. But again, he doesn't have like an established personality in the game because he does not talk. So this was a difficult one. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on
you could have a Kakuno that has a face with just like a straight
Yeah,
line.
that's what he would be.
Expressionless face.
And then so Marl is a she's a princess, but she's not like your typical princess. She's a rebellious, go out and kind of create the entire storyline because she can't be contained sort of princess. And I'm going to go with the Twisby Swipe in Ice Blue from Marl because in Chrono Trigger, every character has an element that they use. Chrono's happens to be lightning, Marl's happens to be ice.
That helps for a pen selection.
For ice,
like guidance?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with an ice. I think that the Twisby Swipe is, it's nice, it's pretty, but it's also pretty, rugged and down to earth, which Marl is. Not a conventional princess there. Luca is Chrono's friend, lives in the same village, and is an inventor with the element of fire at her disposal. So Kaveco Supra in Fire Blue is what I'm going to give Luca. Being an inventor, I thought that the Supra is inventive, creative.
Very tinkery kind of
and
pen.
absolutely, very tinkery. Doesn't really solve a problem, but kind of makes people say, okay, cool, yeah, let's do that. Let's play with that machine. And it's fiery, so Fire Blue. So
Nice.
Luca gets that. My pick for Robo, who is a robot. It's a very
that's
creative
clever.
name.
It's like a name my kids would have come up with.
The names aren't the best. There's also a frog named Frog, but we'll get to him later. Robo, being from the future, it's not really like a super high-tech future. It's more like a post-apocalyptic future.
Okay.
So picture like, a very spacey sort of landscape with a bunch of high-tech stuff that's just been like bombed to heck, and there's famine and sadness everywhere. Very depressing.
Sounds fun.
But he is a gold-ish robot, but more of like a rusty kind of mid-century futuristic robot. Kind of like
I've never heard the words mid-century futuristic robot before.
like kind of like the like atomic age sort of what we thought the future was going to look like. He's like that style of futuristic.
Okay.
So I went with what is going to be on the website by Friday. So because I asked Rachel, the Retro 51 Nautilus Big Shot Rollerball.
Okay.
Robo is a hefty boy.
Okay.
He's a hefty boy. And this will be the first Big Shot Retro 51 Tornado we've ever carried.
Yeah.
And it has that nice gold look. It has the Nautilus, submersible on the side, but the style of it, the overall vibe is very Robo, and I think that fits well. And it's just a beefy hunk of gold, which he literally is. And then finally, Frog, a.k.a. your pal Glenn, who got turned into a frog. He was a squire to a knight named Cyrus, but we won't get into that. He is the MVP of the whole series. He has the best theme song in video game history, and he's little, he's green, but he is resilient and reliable, just like the Kaweco Lilliput aluminum in green. So it's a tiny pen, it's green, super reliable, super durable, just like Frog. Love him, love his theme, love his sword. He's a great guy. He's the heart and soul of this whole game, in my opinion. He does not ever leave my party. He's my consistent.
Nice.
Magus, who is a villain, an optional party member that you can get. Also the person that turned Frog into a frog, I believe. I thought about not including Magus because I don't use him. I don't think he belongs there. I still get him, but I never actually use him because he's a bad guy. I don't care about him. But we're going to go with the Visconti Mirage Mythos in Poseidon. I think it fits his vibe well. It's dark. It's a little bluish. He's a little bit more bluey purple, but it works with him. I'm not going to get too far into that because I don't care about Magus. And then finally, Ayla, who is a cave lady from the prehistoric ages, because this game you jump around to about 5 or so different time periods.
Awesome.
It's also interesting because you can fight the final boss at any time in the game and get a different ending if you can handle it. Usually he'll just,
That is one of the things that I read was that the multiple choices for an ending was like a revolutionary thing at that time.
Oh yeah,
and
hugely.
It's like what the game is doing.
The graphics are amazing too.
And also the soundtrack they said was like one of the best.
Oh my god,
it's like rated as like one of the best soundtracks of video game history.
It's incredible. I played it last year, and you also, for an old school RPG, you don't have to spend a lot. You don't find a boss, get your butt kicked, and then have to go fight raccoons and rats, to level up. If you just go through the game, don't go out of your way to avoid fights.
Yeah.
And just kind of fight what comes at you, you'll be fine.
Okay.
And that level of balance is just unheard of. No grinding, and I love that about this game.
Okay.
And then finally, so Ayla, you meet her in the prehistoric dinosaur times, and she's a rough and tumble gal. She wears a cat tail. She's pretty rowdy, very, very strong, very durable. I actually included her in my final party the last time I played for the first time.
Okay.
She has to be the Homo sapiens Bronze Age from Visconti. It's made of lava. It's cool. It's pretty, but also super, super indestructible and rigid and just brutal. So, and it's also made of lava. There's plenty of lava in this game. The bad guy's name is Lavos, and Ayla has this whole. There were volcanoes back then. You fly pterodactyls over the top of them, so it fits with her vibe. That is my party from Chrono Trigger, the greatest RPG of all time, and in my top 3 video games of all time, I believe.
Wow.
I believe it came down to Red Dead Redemption 2, Donkey Kong Country, and Chrono Trigger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So that's it. Thank you for bearing with me. If you cared nothing for that, hopefully it wasn't too bad. If you did care for it, hopefully you like my choices.
We've all learned something.
Perhaps.
Yep.
And that leads us to question number 5.
Yes.
Natalie the Tree asks you, Brian, what are your thoughts on the LAMY aion and dialog variants? They're not talked about much, and I heard the aion is leaving soon?
I don't know about that. I haven't heard about the aion leaving soon, but they've had some colors come in and out. Yeah. So maybe there could be certain colors that are changing in and out.
I definitely agree that these pens don't get talked about a lot.
They don't. I know the aion, there's a dark green one right now that is like a special edition.
That's a nice green too.
It might be that one may be going away. I don't know. I have not heard this scuttlebutt, but I haven't heard anything official about the aion being discontinued or anything like that. Though, of course, LAMY has been known to announce things that we haven't had an advance notice on before, so who knows?
Like the selling of their entire company.
Yes, that was a total surprise. So yeah, who knows? But I'm not aware of anything official about any of that. But thought I could at least talk about the aion a little bit, and then talk about the dialogues, because there are several of them. I put my notes for the dialogue first, but I'll cover the aion first because that's a little quicker. So the aion came out in 2017. It was designed by Jasper Morrison. So LAMY likes to have designers who are not pen designers design their pens. So they like to have designers from other eras, which also means that I don't really know much anything about most of these designers because I'm not plugged into the design world.
No, I certainly don't either. I don't know if Jasper Morrison is an engineer or a painter. I don't know.
I knew at some point, but I can't remember. So just Google Jasper Morrison, you'll find out. They've had various colors though. They had a red and a blue and a black. They had a deep dark blue special edition and a dark green special edition, which is the current one. So what do we currently have?
I know we started with the blue and the red.
We have the black, the blue and the red. So it was like a lighter blue, kind of more like an ocean blue, Safari or All-Star.
A little bit more like your shirt.
Yeah. So that is gone. So we have the black one, the deep dark blue, which is a special edition, and then the dark green, which is also a special edition. So it could be that one of those is maybe going away because they're special editions. They're going to go away at some point. I just think they've hung around for a while because they're not as high volume sellers as like a Safari or an All-Star or a Studio. So a special edition on those may hang around longer. Though.
It has been a couple of years since the green, right?
Years, yeah. That one came out. So
I wonder if the
exact date.
I wonder if Natalie is saying that they're done making special editions.
I don't know. I haven't heard any of these rumors, so
it has been a while. Hopefully, they're not leaving it out to dry.
Could be. I know that they're more difficult to make than like a Safari or an All-Star. So any of the LAMY pens that are like special metals. Well, first off, they had an issue with palladium. Sourcing their palladium has been really tough.
There's palladium in these things?
I don't think in these ones, but I'm speaking more generally. I probably don't need to go this deep on it, but definitely some of the other non-Safari, non-All-Star, non-LAMY 2000 LAMYs don't have as many variants. Pens like the CP1, the Pure, the Logo, the Studio has more, but the Aion, the Idios. So there's not as many variants of these ones. A lot of them have palladium in them, but so the Aion is one that has had a few more colors to it. So the pen's been around for, I guess, 6-7 years now. It's never been a huge seller for us. It's a bit more expensive. The pen is like solid metal, like it's metal all the way through. There's no plastic components to it. And it's a bigger pen. It's not necessarily like for everybody. But
it's light though.
Stainless steel nib. Yeah, it's not super heavy. It's all aluminum. Yeah. So it's not like a super dense pen. It's actually, I don't know, I have to look it up, but to me,
I feel like it's quite light.
It might even be lighter than the Studio, even though Studio is smaller.
Because the
Studio is like brass with some aluminum over it.
It's probably lighter or close.
Yeah, it's gonna be close. But anyway, so stainless steel nib, but the shape of the nib on the Aion is slightly different. It doesn't have like the wings that taper in a little bit. They're like a little more bulbous.
They kind of like they're not they don't taper at an angle. They taper at a kind of a curve.
Yeah, and that's just like the design they did for that pen.
Classic Jasper.
Yep, I guess. You can swap those out, but they're the same like nib as everything else. They write very similarly. That's about all I have to say about the Aion.
I think it's interesting that the grip section is still metal.
It is,
but it's a different brush pattern. So the whole thing is brushed aluminum, right? But the barrel and the cap are brushed one way, and the grip, despite being the same material, is brushed in a different way. So it's interesting. It's not really like a more grippy texture per se, but
it's more of like a matte finish.
Yeah, I guess it's not brushed.
On the grip, the body is definitely brushed.
Yeah.
You can like see the like sort of striations. It's brushed like the LAMY 2000 is brushed like up and down the pen, so you can see sort of those stripes. And same with the stainless steel LAMY or the stainless steel Studio.
Yeah.
That's got brush marks going the length of the pen. This one, the brush marks are around.
Yeah, and then the grip is just kind of overall.
The grip is just like a flat.
Yeah, but it's still the missing material. But that's probably my favorite thing. I like the grip. It's like they keep the uniformity of the pen's color and style and feel, but still, giving the user a defined grip section.
Yeah,
but it doesn't break up the profile of the pen.
And then the clips too. I think the clips are plated in platinum.
Yeah, I think they might be springy too.
They are springy clips.
Yeah. They're pretty neat.
Yeah, but anyway, they look kind of cool.
Yeah. They're simple.
The green one was special edition for 2021, so it has been around for 2-3 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it was also launched like in the middle of COVID, and
yeah,
like I think a lot of people probably missed it.
I don't know what the future of the aion will hold.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you're just now finding out about them, you might want to grab one.
Check it out. See if you're interested. Let's see. I think I can't remember if we featured the aion. I think we did in a previous one. I don't remember which one, but
we've done a lot of those LAMYs.
We have.
We did the logo too, I know.
Did the logo, yep. Okay. Speaking of other LAMYs that we actually haven't done a spotlight on yet, but we will at some point, the dialogues, right? So dialogue has more variance to it. That probably is where more of this question is coming from, which is scary because I just went into a lot of detail about the aion, and there's even more to get into with the dialogue.
I interrupted you a few times.
I'll move it along.
Just like now.
So it has started out with the dialog 1, which was a ballpoint pen. It was this triangular looking thing. Looks really cool, actually. It's a pretty rad pen.
Do you have one?
I don't.
I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
I should track one of those down. Mm-hmm. It's also a ballpoint, but it does look really cool design-wise. So that was designed by Richard Sapper in 2003. So it's a palladium
old Dickie Saps.
Pen.
Does that call him?
Yep, that's right. Then they came out with the Dialog 2, which was a roller ball. So that is another palladium coated pen designed by a Danish company, Holscher Designs, in 2006, I think, is when I was able to look at that one. That one's a more conventional looking pen than the Dialog 1. Dialog 1 looks pretty unique. But the clip on the Dialog 2 is really cool. It does I forget exactly how the functionality of it works, but the clip is kind of like inset into the pen, and then when you twist it, it sort of like pops the back of it up, I think, and then you push down on it and it opens up the clip. Oh. So it's got like this weird stealth clip kind of a thing.
So before the 3, the Dialog had a history of an actuated clip.
The whole thing with the Dialog is that there's like cool like engineering and design stuff happening with each of them. The Dialog 1 looks really interesting. It has some cool tech, especially with the clip. It's definitely the case with the Dialog 2. But the Dialog 3 was the fountain pen version. So you can see here they're like, evolving like Pokemon here. And not quite the final form, but the third form here is the Dialog 3. This was designed by Franco Clivio, who also designed the LAMY Pico. That really cool like little pill looking thing. So you're like, that makes sense. Dialog 3 and the Pico do kind of echo each other.
I would love a Pico fountain pen.
That would be amazing, but that is not a thing. Yeah. The Pico is really cool.
It is.
That is one ballpoint pen I have that I like.
Yeah, a lot. I might pick one of those up on eBay or something like that.
They're pretty fun.
I want one.
They're pretty fun. Okay, so Dialog 3 originally came out in palladium, but they have done a lot of other colors since then. Maybe not a lot. A lot of other variants. So that pen came out in 2012. So it was a little bit after the other ones. But that was the one that came out kind of when we first got on the scene with LAMY. So we didn't really know what was going on with LAMY fully, but then that pen came out and it was like, oh, this is interesting. So that one came out and also does some cool things with the clip as well. Obviously the engineering with the retractable nib and the hood and the whole thing, it's just really cool. So that was pretty revolutionary. So they expanded the colors to, they did a matte black, a piano black, piano white. They did some Urushis, which I think we still have one on our site. And I'm trying to remember if they had any other colors. It's possible that I'm missing some because they had a period there where there were a bunch of different Dialog 3s. But they've been like off and on available because they're complicated pens. From what I understand, sourcing the parts and having it all made and stuff gets complicated. And plus with all these different finishes and stuff, all that got disrupted pretty bad, especially palladium shortages and stuff like that, all during COVID. So, the offering of Dialog 3s has always been a bit hit or miss. For us at least. But nice thing about these ones, they have the 14 karat LAMY nibs. Different nib than what's on the LAMY 2000, but the same as what you have on like the premium, studios and stuff like that, which is a fantastic writing nib. I mean, it's just wonderful. And then they did a variant. I consider it to be its final form evolution to the Dialog CC. Because I think the Dialog 3, it was cool, the tech was neat and popular, but it's kind of a long pen, looks a bit like a hot dog, and many people, Like it was just kind of too heavy, too big. So while they like the tech, it was not a lot of people's like daily use pen.
To me, it feels like a fountain pen that is already posted that you can't unpost.
It does kind of have a little bit of that feeling.
Yeah.
It's kind of long and yeah. But that kind of got fixed with the Dialog CC. So Dialog CC came out sort of the end of 2020, early 2021. I was thinking back to that because there was a lot going on at that time. We were like in the office, out of the office, masks, no masks, distance, no distance. There was a lot happening at that time. And I think I remember like getting the pen so that we could like shoot a video for it, but then we got delayed and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, it's all a COVID blur, but the pen came out basically during COVID. But
it's a great pen though.
It's a really cool pen.
So cool looking.
So they came out with the white one with rose gold trim and the blue one with rose gold, which that blue with rose gold just looks tight. The white one looks pretty good too. Yeah.
But for me, the thing that really sends it home are the end caps. How they put those metal plating accents there on the end.
Yeah,
sends it
looks
home.
Really good. And the back of it too, they made it shorter. The girth overall is pretty much the same as the regular Dialog.
Yeah.
But it's a shorter pen, so it's less weight. It's definitely not as back weighted. And it's, it still fits the same LAMY cartridge and the Z27 converter in there. And so it's still just as practical, but it's slightly shorter. It doesn't have a clip. It's got a roll stop instead. So, I mean, that's probably where they're saving some of that space, So the clip is pretty cool in the Dialog 3 because when you twist it, it like retracts the clip in and out, which is kind of cool. But I mean, the Dialog CC is a great little pen, and it's been a lot more popular for us. And then they came out with an all like matte black one that's pretty tight looking too.
That's pretty cool too. I still think that the navy blue is the best.
Looks classy.
Like
it's kind of like the E95S with the burgundy and the ivory. It looks kind of like that, where you're like, oh, this pairing right here, the dark blue with the rose gold, like it just looks.
And then Twisby did that with their indigo and rose gold, and that looked banging as well.
Looks
like
tight.
this combo, I didn't know, but it looks so good.
It looks good. Oh, it looks good.
So
Yeah,
the Dialog CC was the first pen, I think, to do that, and that's probably not going to be the last.
There you go. So yeah, that's basically what I have on the Dialogs.
You know what I just realized? I know that the sealing isn't the best on the Dialogs, as far as sealing the ink from air.
Yeah.
I bet you that those would be an excellent candidate for Private Reserve's Infinity inks.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I would absolutely do that if I had a CC, because I'm thinking about getting a CC. Obviously not right now. I'd be like, oh yeah, get some Infinity ink in there.
It would help.
Yeah,
it would help. Yeah, because it's like that's one. I mean, it's like any retractable nib pen.
Yeah.
You have to think that you're going to be sacrificing the sealing of that probably. Vanishing Point does a really, really good job of that. But most of the other retractable nib pens, there's some kind of sacrifice of its sealing. So if you have a Dialog 3 or CC, if you're not writing with it, fairly regularly, it will tend to dry out just a little bit.
It's not the best.
Yeah.
Infinity inks help though.
Yeah. There you go. So now you know a little bit more. And who knows what else might come out in the future. I don't know. It seems to be a format they've adapted a little bit over time, and be curious to see what happens in the future. So got any further questions? You can always leave us comments, especially if you have any questions for future pencasts, or you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com, and we will look at that eventually. All right. I think we're ready for a pen spotlight, Drew.
I need to move my mic and my paper.
We have to clear room
so
for this thing. So we're going to do that, and we'll be back.
Hang tight.
With the largest pen box you've ever seen in your life. All right, Drew, just plop that thing over here real quick. Okay. This is an enormous box. Does it get its own pallet when we ship this thing? This is enormous.
It is.
Now, I have not seen this thing in person myself, so I don't know how we're going to do this.
Let's see. Do I need to slide it out? Do you want to tip it and then lift it?
I don't know if I want to tip it, though. Let's see if we can't just kind of like push it a little bit.
All right, which way? Here, I'll hold the outer sleeve.
Yeah, I'm going.
You pull the.
I'm going towards.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay, now let's see if I can like pull it.
There we go. We're doing it.
Ooh, Okay.
Oh man. Okay, there's Frankie.
There you go.
Here we go. We're gonna move this out of the way.
Okay.
Look at the top of that thing.
I'll tilt it just a little bit. There you go. That's a big old Frankenstein.
Goodness.
Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
This is not Frankenstein because
No.
that's the doctor. Common misconception. All right. Then are we going to do a cell phone thing once we actually get into it?
Probably.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's a very tight fit here, which is why we got to lift it off carefully. It's got to like air pressure regulate itself. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's like a little a little flap there. Okay, comes with a book, which I won't open up too much because this is not my pen. I mean, technically right now it is, I guess, but hopefully I will not ultimately be the owner of this pen. It has instructions. That's kind of cool. Which there are batteries that are needed for this thing. Oh, it's not included. Doesn't come with the batteries, Drew.
Oh darn.
We won't be able to demonstrate that portion of it, but everybody ought to use their imaginations. Okay. I don't know how to unpack this thing because it's so large. Okay, so it's got foam here, and oh my gosh, how do I attack this thing? Okay, I need to actually stand up. There we go. Okay, we're gonna see if I can get this audio working. Okay. So how in the world do I get, okay, start with this. Okay. So we got some ink over here, and then we've got something here. I don't know what this is.
That might be the pen.
Is that the pen in there, you think? Wrapped up separately? Okay, that feels pretty weighty. I feel like that's probably the pen. But before we do that, let's look at what's happening inside this box. This is kind of amazing. So it's got foam to protect all this because obviously in transit this would be quite hazardous to be jostled around. This is the pen stand. And I believe when you put the batteries in there, this is like one of those light up glowy things that has like, looks like a little Tesla coil type thing. Like it's got a name for it. I can't remember what it is, but it's like a ball and it's got lightning that comes out of it. And when you touch it, it like all goes to your finger, whatever the thing is called. Y'all know in the comments. It's got a little operating table that you strap the pen down onto. And then it's got a little chair here for the ink as well. Little hexagonal chair. I mean, this is pretty rad. It's pretty thought out. It's even got a little switch here for the electricity, which is fun. I mean, this is insane. But, you know, this is what you're paying for a $10,000 pen. Okay, and then the pen inside here. So let's see how gracefully I can do this, right? There you go. Drew's showing off the set. I don't even think I can call it a stand. It feels more like a studio set. Okay.
What do you think of that weld on the chair, Brian?
It seems pretty solid. It's kind of cool. You can see where it was welded because it's got the heat, like kind of burn in there, sort of like the fire blue. That's kind of how they do it. They heat up the steel, and then, you know, I like that. I made a table for my sunroom. You know, it's like one of those C tables, so you can. It's like the shape of a C, so you can slide the legs underneath the couch, and you know, you got a little table. Okay. I am working on this bubble wrap here. Try not to like completely tear it apart. All right. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's inside plastic, obviously, but
Goodness
it's like
gracious.
wrapped up.
It's like mummified.
I know.
Oh my gosh. It's like it's a straitjacket or something.
I think that's probably the vibe. Oh my gosh. Or maybe it's like, you know, Dr. Frankenstein's lab coat kind of a vibe.
Crystal did a great job putting this back together.
She did, and I'm ruining it now. She'll get to practice again, probably. No, we'll put it back. Okay, so we unsnap. It's like, it really is like a straitjacket kind of a thing, that's just fun. This is heavy. Like, I don't know how much this case weighs. Oh my gosh. It's too much.
Don't unleash the beast, Brian.
Holy crap, this thing is huge. What? Oh my gosh. I'd seen the pictures. I had no idea what the perspective was on the size of this thing. All right, come on now. Okie dokie. What in the world? Okay, I have really big hands, and this thing looks like a billy club in my hands. This is so big. Wow. Okay, this is crazy. Okay, so it's got like these mechanical gears over here, which function. I don't know if it actually does anything in the pen. I think it just spins. What's really fun about this, I'll get to this in the what's happening section, but I'm getting more into Lego Technic stuff. These look a lot like the gears that you have in like a differential in a Lego Technic, but that's fun. Okay, I'm into that. The whole pen is like metal, so it kind of looks like it could be leather or something. No, this is all textured metal. That's probably why it's so darn heavy. Look, it's got lightning bolts there, little nameplate. This is like the Tesla coil thing. And then I believe in the top here, it's got this like wheel that you turn, and it's got Frankenstein's monster's head in the pen, which is crazy. I don't even know what that's all about. And then you can close it up. It's got some like positive stops there. Wow, that's pretty fun. I didn't know that we were getting a Tinkerer's thing. Okay, let's see. Do I have to do anything special to open this? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's just, okay. Wow. Okay. So it looks like a number 6 size nib, if that gives any perspective of just how big this pen is. It's got the lightning bolts here. It's kind of a smooth grip, which is cool.
I don't know. It's hard to tell with this massive
You think
pen.
so? I don't know. It might be an 8. You think it's an 8?
Look at the feet. Feed that big fat ebonite.
I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll have to compare that to something else. But oh my gosh, this is so heavy. Wow, that's kind of amazing. Okay, I think it does something else because it was twisting here. I don't know if this is part of the filling mechanism. Okay. I mean, that looks cool. I don't know what's happening there. God, that's heavy just in itself. Is this a vacuum fill? Like, what is going on? Okay, I'm twisting this. Oh, it must be a piston. Is that a piston? It's just turning. What am I doing here? Oh, it's like a vac filler.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, and it like
Or a
springs.
pump filler.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
like
a
a
vac?
yeah, it's like a pump filler. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
It's
that's
a
so
vacuumatic,
cool.
Yeah.
Boy, that looks crisp. Like just like the machining and stuff. It looks so sharp. You know, right in there. You press it.
Smooth.
Oh, it feels very like responsive. You know, very precision. Wow. Okay, that's cool. Wow, this is a crazy pen. I mean, this is what Monograppa does, right? Like a couple pen casts ago, we did the 007 Bond pen. That thing was pretty crazy. I wonder if this clip, spring clip, that's nice. You know, just convenient. So when
you
you,
see the spring.
yeah, so when you keep it in your pocket, you know, it's more convenient that way. Too bad I'm not wearing a shirt with pockets just to see what this thing would look like. Wow, this is really, really cool. All right, and then, you know, just for fun, we're going to stick this thing inside its little operating table. Let's see. Yeah, I think it just latches. I think maybe does it have to go on? It's got like a little dot there. Does it have to go in a certain orientation? Oh, it does. Okay, hang on. Okay, so it's got a little notch there with this little thing. So I think it goes in. Oh, okay, it just has to go in that way. But then it snaps in place. Okay, I guess that's so it's more aligned. Okay, and then, yeah, I guess you can put it here on its little table. Should we do a clip up on it? There we go. Look at that thing. Well, that's pretty fun.
It's alive.
And then we don't have the batteries for this thing, but you can just imagine this thing like electrified back here. Well, there you go, folks. I think this might be the biggest pen that I've ever held. This is kind of crazy. But that's the Monograppa Frankenstein. Very, very cool. And I'm glad y'all at least get to see it. I don't remember how many they're making, but it's not many. Definitely limited edition, obviously. Okay, well, that was a crazy pen. We're going to have fun packing that back up. But anyway, check that out. We've got one if you want it. Or you just, look at it. It's cool. Okay, I think we'll move on to what's happening, shall we?
We shall. All right.
Hi, Drew.
I had a very busy Saturday.
Yeah?
Like, very busy from start to finish. We woke up. I made some pancakes for the wife and kid. Then we went to Arts in the Park over in Richmond, where we live approximately. And that is the annual kind of outdoor crafts and art sort of festival thing.
You always get like coffee mugs there, right?
I do, yeah. I've got
like
for like 8 years in a row, I got a coffee mug there. Didn't do that this year. I have so many mugs. But I knew that one of my favorite artists, Kevin Geyer, was going to be there. And I've purchased 2 of his paintings. I have one of Al Swearingen from Deadwood and another of Tony Soprano from The Sopranos.
Cool.
And since like 2014, he has exhibited another painting in that same style, in that same size of Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones, played by Jason Momoa.
Okay.
And I've had my eye on that one for many years, and he hasn't been at Arts in the Park for many years. And so he was there this year. I saw he still had that painting, and I looked at Shannon. It was a little bit more than it was a little bit more than we thought it would be, but I went ahead and picked it up because it matches the other 2 perfectly. It's just black and white, or like kind of cream and black, but just big close-ups, very good detail of just the heads of these 3 characters. And all 3 characters, another reason I had to get it was because Al Swearingen and Tony Soprano are both horrible people, horrible human beings that honestly deserve horrible deaths. But they're also
Spoiler alert.
They're also kind of like, in a way, protagonists of their respective shows.
They're anti-heroes, I think is
kinda. Yeah. It's like somehow the writers of HBO know how to make horrible people endearing, and Al and Tony are 2 very good examples of that. And Khal Drogo is kind of like that as well. He's a horrible person, but when he died, it was a sad thing, and everybody was not super happy about it. So he fit my theme, and so I went ahead and picked him up. So I'm very, very happy about that. Very glad to have him join. I need to figure out where on the wall to place him. But that was the thing. It was rainy, not the best weather. It wasn't like it wasn't pouring, but it was very misty and wet.
All day. Yeah.
So it wasn't the best, which is unfortunate because I knew Kevin hadn't been there in a while, and I really wanted him to sell his stuff well. So I'm not sure how well he did, but at least I did my part. And he also, just being a super nice guy he is, he threw in a small block print that he made. He carved the stamp and printed Brack from Space Ghost. I don't know if you know who Brack is, but Space Ghost and Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. It was a silly character that Shannon and I both love. Like
I've seen the character, but I haven't watched the show.
We both, before we even met each other, had Brack albums on CD.
Wow. Okay.
Stupid songs. But he was one of the first things we connected on. So Kevin's like, here, take a Brack print. So
wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. But after that, Shannon had an appointment in Carytown to get her hair cut. So she went there. We drove from Arts in the Park to there. She got her hair cut. Archer and I just walked around, went into a couple antique toy stores. One of them had for sale an old Ghostbusters toy from the real Ghostbusters toy line that I had previously shown Archer kind of recently because I was following a vintage toy Instagram channel.
Okay.
And it was this little purple ghost with like black sneakers on. And he came with like a pull cord that was also shaped like a ghost. And you just ripped it and you laid him down and it just went. And he used to spark out of his mouth. It had like a little flint and the wheel would spin it. But I saw that at the toy store. It was $6.99. So I was like, oh my God, here's that thing. So I bought it. And it's super cool. Archer's like, yeah, this is rad. You know? But when I told Archer that it used to spark, he's like, wait, what? Like actual sparks? I'm like, yeah. And I just realized, I'm like, wow, that's incredibly unsafe.
Yes.
Like,
it's pretty hazardous.
There were a lot of toys that sparked.
Yeah.
When we were
kids.
That
was a thing in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barbie had rollerblades that sparked.
Yeah.
Rachel had some of those. Yeah.
He looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's a terrible idea for kids' toys. So, yeah, it doesn't spark anymore, but I'm halfway thinking, like, hey, could I open that thing up and replace the little flint in there?
Do you want to make your toy more hazardous?
Yes. All right, and then after that, we had an appointment to take Archer to, us. We went to a friend's birthday party, our friends Michael and Brittany. Mm-hmm. Their daughter was having a birthday out in Rockville, so we left Carytown to go to Rockville for the birthday party. I had my kumquat tree arrived last week.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly. And I didn't have a pot for it. I didn't have my citrus soil that I needed.
Oh boy!
I didn't know it was coming. Like I got an anonymous FedEx email, but I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I get work-related FedEx emails, and I don't know the difference. But this thing showed up. I'm like, kumquat! So I needed to get it ready. So I went to Lowe's. They didn't have any citrus soil. I went to Home Depot. They didn't have any citrus soil because you need really fast draining soil for citrus plants.
What's different? Yeah, I've
never
done any citrus.
It's usually like a citrus cactus succulent mix.
Okay.
So it's fast draining.
Okay.
Because they don't like, saturated roots.
In water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go to Strange's, but I didn't have time because we needed to go to Rockville. However, I left Shannon and Archer at the party. I went to Strange's, got a pot, got some citrus mix, got some citrus food, went back, got them. Took Archer to a sleepover at his friend's house.
Oh my gosh.
And then dropped him off. Shannon and I went to meet her friends at a restaurant where we had dinner together. And that was our entire day.
That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But you know what? I got to walk around the florist by myself and look at pots. And that was nice.
Your happy place.
That was probably I love everybody, my friends and my family, obviously, but I appreciated that little moment where I was just walking around looking at some plants, picking out some soil, like that brought me in just enough for the day to be
nice.
to be quite nice.
So you got your kumquat tree?
Yep, I got that. I got it planted. It seems happy. It has not been sunny here, which is a little bit of a shame. It's kind of been for
almost like we don't live in a tropical climate or something.
So it would survive technically this citrus would survive in zones 8 and above. We're in zone 7.
Okay.
So we're not. It won't survive year round.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not impossible for it to survive.
Okay.
So essentially, I'm going to need to bring it in during the winter and hope it lasts.
Yeah.
So
is it going to get enough sun?
I don't know. So we've got French doors in the back.
Okay.
And it does get sun in the afternoon there. Mm-hmm. That's where I'll put it in the winter. I don't know if it'll be enough, so I might need to get a pendant light above it to give it some UV or something. I'm gonna try to keep it alive.
Can you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I can
UVA?
try.
Yeah.
So
it's a thing. People
that's
do that.
gonna be the attempt. Yeah.
Okay.
But for now, I'm just gonna hope it survives the summer. So we'll take it one step at a time. So I got that. I replanted some tomatoes, so things are rocking and rolling out there pretty well. I've got some flowers coming in, so the outdoors are behaving. But we did have some storms recently.
We did.
Last night or the night before, we had some pretty gnarly thunderstorms.
Yeah. I
think it was last night. One of my dogs was really afraid of that. But so not the ideal climate recently for a tropical plant, but it has been humid, so it might like that.
It's definitely been humid.
Been very so humid that you can feel it inside of the office.
Oh yeah, like the fans that we have in our bathroom that kick on when you shower, to get the humidity out of there. They're just kicking on now, just because.
It creeps in.
It's like shower steamy, level of humidity, but just indoors all the time in the house. Yeah. It's that crazy.
It definitely creeps in
Plus,
there.
the temperature has been nice, so Rachel's been wanting to open the windows in our sunroom. Meanwhile, I'm just I'm so sweaty, and I'm just okay, she's happy. She likes that temperature, and there's not really any bugs because it's raining.
You're a good man.
So I'm okay, I'll just sweat. And I was this is just kind of how it is for me now until November. I'm just going to be sweating all the time.
I'm so sorry.
It's my life.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Sunday was a little less crazy. We woke up, Archer was still at his friend's house. We went to First Watch for breakfast. Just got some biscuits and gravy. I'm a huge fan of biscuits and gravy. Not
yeah.
everybody does it right though. I don't like the really like gelatinous gravy, like Cracker Barrel and stuff. Like, no, I need it a little bit. You need it to saturate the biscuit.
Yeah,
a little bit at least.
Yeah.
So we got some of that.
Is this a white gravy or brown gravy?
This was a white sausage gravy.
Okay.
With a little bit of spice, which is what you need.
Mm-hmm.
We went and picked up Archer, and then immediately needed to go to the grocery store because we were asked to bring an appetizer for family dinner on Sunday. And we Shannon elected to do like a 7-layer, like a Mexican dip, so like beans and lettuce and
other
everything.
things. Yeah.
So
all those layers.
We went to the grocery store, got stuff for that, came home. I had a little bit of time to play some Spider-Man before we left to go to dinner to bring our appetizer.
Okay.
So it was a packed weekend.
That sounds busy.
It was.
Sounds like a Brian kind of a weekend.
Was. But I did get a little bit of video game time in. I'm playing Spider-Man 2 now, which has been excellent.
Yeah.
Just very realistic New York, very beautiful weather effects, a lot of detail in the city. I found the Ghostbuster Firehouse, which I was very excited about. I think from what I understand, it's a pretty solid recreation of New York in terms of position and landmarks.
Okay.
But the people going about and doing their things seem shockingly realistic.
Huh.
They seem to have like.
This is a PlayStation game?
Yeah, PS5.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all like doing unique things. Like,
wow,
it seems very alive, which is kind of a shame because I'm just like swinging up above the city, and as I'm doing that, I'm like, man, these game developers they paid attention to stuff that I'm just not even looking at.
Yeah,
maybe I should go walk a little bit, but that looks
just to appreciate.
Now I see Spider-Man just like walking around the sidewalk, like, nah, this doesn't work.
This is not what the game is.
No, go back to swinging. But
right.
yeah, so far it's been really good. Very good voice actors, good motion capture with the mouth movements and stuff like that. Everybody looks like real people.
Yeah,
they're not like all perfect looking. They look like unique human beings.
Interesting.
And you don't really notice it until you see it, and you're like, oh wow, a lot of games make people look too pretty or something like that. So overall, solid weekend. Enjoyed it, although it was busy.
Yeah.
So I will go forth and try not to kill my new baby tree.
There you go.
Tally ho. Sally forth.
Awesome. My turn?
Yes.
All right. Work week was busy. I had my birthday last week.
Mm-hmm.
So that night after we recorded the Pencasts, it was pretty busy. Like, I've worked a very full day on my birthday, which is fine. I'm not... whatever. I don't make big plans and stuff like that. But we just had my parents over, chilled, had some takeout, hung out, some small gifts. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't really want anything. I'm like, I'm fine. I don't need more stuff to store in the house and eventually move and get rid of. So I'm kicking myself because my parents gave me a coffee mug that was hilarious. I guess I'll put a picture of it up here. I meant to bring it in.
Oh, you're kicking
use
yourself
it for the
because you didn't
Pencast.
bring it, I see.
Yeah, but it says "Get a grip, you're 40," and it has 3 handles on the mug. It looks really funny.
That's amazing.
Very much laughed out loud when I opened that thing up. And then my kids gave me some fun stuff too. But then Rachel, of course, about this because you contributed to it, I think.
Oh yeah.
So Rachel went to like all the people in my life and got them to write something nice about me and put it all together in a book and gave it to me. And I was floored because she never does anything like that. And we talked about like not doing, like, we're going to a concert later this summer together as like our gift to each other. But, she gave that to me and I was just like totally not expecting it.
I wasn't sure how she was going to present it. So she put it in like a book.
Yeah, it was in like a binder.
Oh, wow.
Of sorts. Yeah.
Cool.
So she printed everything out. Yeah. She said she kind of put it together, like got the idea like a week before.
Dang.
Like a little bit last minute, but she really pulled a lot together. So, and then she was like, of course my birthday is first. So now I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? Cause we had talked about like not doing a lot. Cause I'd been messaging with her sister, like, hey, should we like plan a get together or something like that? But Rachel's not that social. And it's like, it's not really her vibe, like surprise party type thing. Like, no. So I got an idea for something in the works, but I'm trying to like gauge the appropriateness now because it's like, oh, this really thoughtful thing that she did.
Yeah. And we got Mother's Day coming up too.
I know. Rachel's birthday is always within the week of Mother's Day. Cause Mother's Day just shifts a little bit here and there, but, so we'll have both of those. And I definitely have often forgotten one or the other because I'm like, I focus on one and I'm like, all right, I'm good. And then it's like 2 days later, it's like, oh crap, the other one. And I'm like throwing it together.
Yeah, I need to take Archer out Friday because we're celebrating my mom's stuff on Sunday. So we're going to do Shannon on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I need to take him out like on Friday to go shopping.
There you go. Yep. Won't be the only one. That'll be happening a lot this weekend. So we'll do some stuff for Mother's Day. And then, so that was really cool. So Rachel's birthday is in a couple of weeks. So I will have something. I don't want to talk about it at all because it's not something that I want her to know about.
This will be the one Pencast she actually listens to.
Nah, it won't. She won't. So that's a thing. That's something I'm working on. So that'll keep me busy for a little bit. Saturday morning, we went to Bricks and Minifigs because that is where Joseph likes to go now. He's really into Bionicle, Lego Bionicle, and Hero Factory, like the robot. They kind of deviated from like traditional Lego. So they're more like action figure type, but they still you assemble them and they've got they're compatible with all the Lego.
Do they still make
pieces.
Bionicle stuff?
No, all that stuff gets discontinued.
I've heard,
which is super convenient.
Yeah, I've heard that Bionicle kind of saved Lego.
Bionicle was popular. Hero Factory, not so much.
Yeah.
Bionicle was a little more piecing it together and building with Lego kind of thing. Hero Factory was kind of just like snap together some arms and legs and you got robots. Yeah. If you didn't know that they were Lego, you'd be like, oh, this is not Lego. So that's where they deviated a little bit. And then, because Lego, they went through some rocky periods around the turn of the century, turn of the millennium.
Before Bionicle, like you never saw Lego TV shows or Lego.
Well, they. It
seemed to they were in a bit of a dark ages, but then once Bionicle came out, that kind of like jumped them a little bit, and then Lego Star Wars came out, and then
once they started doing the franchise, the franchise
it was
stuff,
all over.
Yeah, they did Star Wars and Minecraft and Harry Potter, and like they started doing all that stuff, and that really turned them around quite a bit. But I mean, they were trying to make a video game, they were making action figures, like they'd really spread themselves too thin, and sort of lost their way a little bit, and the sales reflected in that. But they did actually a pretty major overhaul in the company. I read a book about this a little while ago about Legos overhauling their brand.
So has it been pretty easy to find Bionicle stuff?
No, not really. Yeah. Not really. So, he will go to Bricks and Minifigs and he's like sorting through all the stuff to try and find like various masks and heads and stuff like that. So I don't know. He's got his specific interests, and I mean, he's finding parts, so, but it's kind of thing like they don't make them anymore. So he'll either go on to, what's it called? Bricklink, which is like an eBay for Lego pieces. So he'll sometimes buy specific things off of there, or we'll just rummage through Second and Charles or Bricks and Minifigs, and he'll find what he finds. And sometimes he finds a lot of cool stuff, and sometimes it's slim pickings, but that's how it goes with secondhand stuff.
There's some there's a whole back wall of discontinued Lego stuff at that Carytown toy store I mentioned.
Oh,
it's just,
okay.
I forget what it's called. Toy Layer, I think. It's got a big old dragon out front. You can't miss it.
Okay, I might have to look into that.
There's a new Star Wars IP. I don't know if it's not Star Wars, Lego Star Wars show or movie, something on Disney Plus where
I don't know.
It's like I saw a trailer for it yesterday.
Joseph's not as much into he loves the Lego movies when they came out. But he's spreads his love out across franchises now. He's super into Sonic the Hedgehog. So definitely is into a lot of that.
Did you watch the Knuckles series?
I don't think we have yet, actually.
It's on Disney Plus.
Maybe they...
It's like a 6-episode thing.
I feel like if they'd watched it, they would be talking about it a lot more.
Yeah. Archer watched it. I don't know if he finished it. He definitely watched a couple episodes.
Oh, I'll have to mention that to them.
Yeah.
We've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, nice. Isn't there a corgi in there somewhere?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't seen it. I just know there's a corgi.
You haven't seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I saw a couple episodes. It didn't hook us. It was funny, though.
Oh, okay. It's good. It's good. It's, it's not as engaging as like Community, but they do a lot of the same things where there's like running themes of inside jokes and stuff that come up again and again. So they thread a lot throughout it.
We should give it another chance.
It's pretty clever. Yeah, it's pretty clever. And there's corgi in it.
I
so
know.
You would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what the corgi's name is. I can't remember it. It's the captain's dog. It's Mr. something. It's like a fancy kind of a name. Anyway.
I like it.
Okay, what else? Oh, so yes, taking Joseph to the bricks and minifigs thing. But I'm like, what am I going to do? Just like sit there for an hour or an hour and a half while he sifts through all these Lego things?
Did you grab some more? Did you grab another stud bucket?
Yeah. Not studs. Well, as I'm going through all this, I'm more into Lego Technic.
Mm-hmm.
That was always because I'm a tinkerer and I love the cranes and cars and trucks and all that kind of stuff. It's like much more my vibe. But Lego Technic is tough, especially if you just buy the sets, because it's like if you want to build a custom creation, first off, if you mix up the pieces within multiple sets, like good luck ever building them again. And they're like, so it's pretty difficult to just like create something totally on your own just from sets if you want to maintain the integrity of the sets at all. So I have never really wanted to do that. So as we were sifting through things and I was trying to help him find his Bionicle whatever stuff, I was like, man, there's a lot of like Technic in here mixed in with all this stuff too. So it started out where I was like, I'll just get little pieces and, kind of fill the bag, because it's like, it got to the point where Joseph's not getting little cups now. He's getting bags and he's getting all these bigger pieces. And I'm like, there's all this dead space in there. And this is like where my head goes. Rachel and I are both like, let's maximize everything. So he's like fills his bag with like his masks and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, Joseph, there's all this extra space in there. Like, get a bunch of studs, get some like smaller like there's so much extra room in there. Like you're paying the same amount. Pack that thing in. And he's like, nah. I'm like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. So it started out doing that. And I'm like, well, now I got all these little Technic pieces, but it's like, what can I do with those? So now every time I go to Bricks and Minifigs now, just because I got to kill time, I'm picking out Technic stuff. And now I'm like, okay, I now have like a whole bin of Technic stuff now after having gone multiple times with him. And I'm like, I need to organize this somehow and then build something. So now I'm into a whole thing of organizing Technic pieces. And
this is on brand for you.
Yes, it's an
making
accidental
work
hobby.
for yourself.
I have made work for myself with this. I have multiple, because I'm like, I have all these extra containers from like storing like small like screwdriver, like hardware tools and stuff like that. So it's like I have all these bins, and I'm like, all right, I'll sort these into these little small parts bins, and I get all these Technic pieces in there. But then I get all this weird stuff, and I'm like, I don't know which place to put this in. So I like create another little cubby, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting ridiculous. So I don't know. We'll see how far down this rabbit hole I go. But I love building with Lego Technic, but then it's like once you're done with the build, it's like I'm not playing with these toys. They look really cool, but I don't know. We'll see where I go with that.
That's why I drew the line at 2 large Lego sets, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I have my DeLorean. I have my Ecto 1.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's good.
Those are
the best. Those are the best sets that will ever exist from Lego.
They're coming out with some amazing sets, though. They're so complex and so cool.
Well, I have an arbitrary rule. These are 1980s famous movie cars.
There you go.
Okay, so maybe the 89 Batmobile, but nah, that's fine. I'm good.
Yeah. They have so I really love the cranes, because cranes are like their vehicles, their construction, but they're also very complex. They have lots of gears and stuff like that. So they're very fascinating from an engineering standpoint. They have this Lego Technic crane that just looks so cool, but it's enormous. And I'm like, I don't even know where I would put this thing, but it looks like such a cool build. It's like, it's definitely in their Technic, but I think it's part of their like collector series or something like that. I mean, I think the thing is like 3 feet tall and like 4 feet long or something like that. It's just insane. I think it's like 6,000 pieces or something like that. And I'm just like,
I mean, you used to cover up your entire dining room table with a K'NEX roller coaster.
I know. It's almost that size. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
Don't you have a folding table that has a bunch of random crap on it that doesn't need to have a bunch of random crap on it?
No. Now we have a folding table that's like folded up away. Oh no, we have a folding table. The kids have like a room where they do like.
I thought you or Rachel were talking recently about how there was a folding table that you didn't want to set up because you thought you'd get random crap on it.
Oh well, that's any folding table that we set up. That would happen. Yes.
But I'm saying you just replace that random crap with this better random crap.
I mean, that would be cool. I don't know. We'll see.
If you've got a folding table somewhere in your house with random crap on it, this is better random crap to put on it.
I agree.
There we go.
I agree. We'll see. I'll see.
I'm such an enabler.
My birthday already passed. I could have asked for that for my birthday. Darn it. Oh well. Let's see here.
You get it for Rachel for her birthday?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hey, honey.
Like buying her vacuum. Like, here you go, dear. No.
I'm going to give you the gift of this because you won't see me for a week.
That's like The Simpsons. Didn't Homer give Marge a bowling ball?
I don't remember.
That was like OG Simpsons back in the day.
I know
remember that for some reason.
The dad from Christmas Story got a bowling ball.
Oh. But maybe that happened.
I never really watched Simpsons.
Really?
No.
It's been on forever.
I went through a heavy South Park phase in the late 90s.
Sure.
But never
that
Simpsons.
was hard to avoid at that time. Yeah. No, Simpsons is still going, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They're like 42 seasons or something.
Simpsons, Family Guy, and South Park.
It's amazing. Never would have thought. Yes, doing some yard work as well in between all the rain and crappy weather that we had.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Finished mulching, though. The 20 yards of mulch all spread out now. It was basically the perfect amount of mulch. Like, I was kind of guessing. I didn't do any math. Because like my natural areas, they're all like rounded shapes. Like I don't even know how to measure the square footage of these things. I don't feel like doing trigonometry or anything. So I just took a guess and it was pretty spot on. So now I know every time I need to remulch, it's a dump truck. But that's all done. Got all those beams pulled up. The only thing is we had this play set here, which we talked about last week. My plan, the kids definitely didn't want the play set anymore. Even when I was like, oh, kids, I'm going to take it down. Want to swing on it one more time? And they're like, nah, we're ready for it to go. And I was like, all right, no one's sentimental about this thing. So I was thinking like, okay, let me start by taking off the slide and the swings and like all the extra parts. And let me like dismantle it and I'll use the wood for some other future project. Well, problem is like this thing is at this point at least 20 years old. I don't know because I got it secondhand. It's been outdoors for 20 years and it looked okay. Yeah. But as I was like taking some parts off it and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, this is like pretty rotted in a lot of parts. And this is not really going to be all that usable, and even like the lumber that was there, like it had bolts through it. It had, there's all these nails and other stuff in there. And I was like, this is just going to be a lot to try to manage. So I was like, what would actually be the most efficient way to take this thing down would be to take it down using the tractor. So despite the comment that we had at the beginning of this pencast, I took Drew's advice and I attacked the thing with my tractor. Not only
That's what tractors are for.
Not only did I do that, but I have a log grapple for the front of my tractor. So it was literally like a monster that was like eating the thing.
I mean, have you demoed anything with your tractor yet?
I'm usually building things or like taking trees down or whatever.
You're due.
I haven't really like obliterated structures with it. So much.
This I'm sure made your tractor happy.
This was a new one. Yeah. It was pretty fun. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I might as well film it. So I had Rachel record it with her phone. I threw a GoPro on the hood of the tractor, and then I put the drone up in the air too to get an aerial shot as well. So we'll have a 3-camera thing. So, I don't know exactly how it'll turn out at this point. I just shot the raw footage, but I guess right now we'll insert my footage of the playset destruction. So enjoy.
That was amazing, Brian.
Thanks, Drew.
I don't know what it looks like.
I don't know what it
I'll
looks
see
like either.
I'll see it when the Pencast goes
I mean,
up.
I was there. It was pretty fun, and I took it down. It came down maybe a little too easy. I was like, yeah.
That sounds like you were validated.
Yeah, I think it was good. It was time to go. But yeah, so I took the whole thing down, and part of the reason the video took a little longer is because like I was trying not to break it into 1,000 pieces, so I didn't have shards of everything. Because it's like I have to clean it all up.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's all just sitting.
You want
in
to
my
break it
trailer
into
now.
pieces you can clean up with the tractor.
Exactly.
Not with your hands.
I ended up pretty much putting it all into the trailer by hand because it was in like small enough pieces.
Oh, okay.
But there were like bolts and stuff that were falling out.
Oh,
you know, I didn't want to be
that.
like, or like longer splinters and stuff like that you could like step on.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's in mulch. Anyway, but I got it all cleaned up and it's all taken care of. I did salvage the hardware off of it though, all the like metal stuff that was like still fairly solid. I was like, hardware is not cheap.
Yeah, if you needed to
get like,
if you needed
to
to
get like 8-inch like lag bolts and stuff, like those are like $5 a piece.
you could use those for a retaining wall.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was like, I can definitely reuse.
Yeah,
the
like with
hardware.
your like you've been challenged with erosion and stuff like that in
yeah,
the
for sure.
past. So like something like that, yeah,
Oh yeah.
I can see that.
Yep. So anyway, that was fun. So I hope you all
Nice.
enjoyed that. So I did that. When did I do that? I don't even remember. I think I did that on Friday, maybe. Yeah, it was before the weekend. So I did that, and then Saturday night. So this was after the morning we did the bricks and minifigs thing. We went to a concert, which we don't do often.
Did you?
So the only concert my kids had ever been to was 8-Bit Big Band, which we did last summer, and this was like more of a rock concert. So this was Phil Wickham, who's a Christian artist that Rachel's really been into for a while. Been listening to stuff. He's on the radio and stuff like that. We had actually gotten tickets to his concert last year, but somebody in the family was sick. It was either Rachel or Ellie or something, and we ended up having to bail. So we gave those tickets away. So we were hoping that like this year we could actually go. And we went, and it was pretty awesome.
Nice.
And you know, it's because like the kids, they actually like recognized some of the music, but also they'd never been to like, I mean, there were 2,000 or 3,000 people in this place, and they had lights. And
Where was it?
it was at
DC or
no, it was in Richmond. It was
Oh.
on the South Side. It was at a church,
Oh, okay.
Liberation Church,
Oh,
which is
okay.
like this big. I
Dang.
don't know. It's like this
Mega
big
church.
gymnasium.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. But it's like basically like in a gymnasium with bleachers and stuff like that. I don't know.
Jeez.
It was an interesting setup, but yeah, thousands of people in there, and it was loud, and
Dang, not too
you
loud
know,
for the kids.
it was fun. No, they're fine. They're fine. It wasn't super loud, not like a Iron Maiden type
Right.
thing, but it was like more of a show.
Yeah.
Because 8-Bit Big Band, it was like that was more of a concert, like a symphonic type concert.
yeah.
So like there was no talking, no clapping. or
This had like
anything, in
lights and
between.
stuff. and-
Had lights, and everybody was cheering and
Yeah.
singing along and stuff like that. So it was a very different vibe.
Interesting.
But what was cool is like there were no assigned seats, so you basically showed up and got your seats. So we showed up at fairly early and got okay seats. But what was really cool, we were kind of like more in the middle. It was like just like a long narrow thing with this stage kind of at the end. So it was like a little weird. I'll maybe have some pictures or something. But then all the like sound and light setup and stuff were like in the middle. But because it was this long kind of shotgun corridor type thing, there was like no seats in the middle behind all the like, where you have the sound booth and all that kind of stuff. There was nothing behind there. It was just empty space. So we were kind of off to the side. And what was really cool is like they did the concert and stuff like that. But then at some point they came up into the middle section, which was like 20 feet in front of us. So they played some like more acoustic songs like right there. And it's like I could literally hear his voice, like actual voice singing, in addition to the stereo system. So we were that close. And I was like, that was pretty cool. So anyway, that was a fun concert. Kids had a great time. But we were very tired at the end of that because it was like a 3-hour concert and we were standing a lot of the time. It was tiring. But anyway, it was fun. Yeah, and that was my week. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
So
Busy. Busier than average.
Yeah, we're doing stuff, So I think that's what we got. But I got a really cool fun fact.
All right.
So we'll wrap this thing up and then get into that. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions, all those good things. Okay, random fun fact.
Bring it.
So this week, actually today, as we're filming this, is May 7th, is actually the 200th anniversary of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Okay.
So seems kind of random, but I have some facts about that.
All right.
Props to Adam. He brought it up in the morning meeting this morning, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I've been playing more saxophone, and I've studied some music back in the day, so I know a little bit about it. But it's a long symphony. It's like 70 minutes long. And it was quite long for its time even. It was also the first symphony to incorporate a choir. So before that, it was just instruments, but Beethoven threw a choir in there. He was also completely deaf at the time that he composed that. So he went deaf like in his midlife. He always had a problem hearing high tones, even from when he was a child. So what's even more amazing about Beethoven is he composed all this music basically without really being able to hear it. He was still composing this really iconic music. So that's kind of incredible. The Ninth Symphony was his last one. He died in the middle of composing his 10th, which was never completed. Anyway, so he's completely deaf. And it's funny because like when he was doing the concert, so it was the 200 years ago today, but not like full conducting. He was like keeping time, but he had a guest conductor who was actually doing the conducting. But he got a couple of measures behind. So when the concert ended and people started clapping, he was actually still like conducting, and somebody had to like be like, hey, dude, it's over. Like, go look at the audience, you know? So it just shows like dude had some struggles, but still produced one of the most iconic pieces of music in recent history. So you probably know the final chorus, Ode to Joy. That's in the 1970s, all that stuff, which has an iconic message of living in peace and harmony together. It was actually adopted as the official anthem for the EU in 1985 and has been there ever since. So that's not the coolest fact, though. So at the time that compact discs, CDs, were being developed in like 1979, 1980, there was a debate about what size the disc should be to be standardized. So you had Philips and Sony, which were partly negotiating, collaborating, partly competing. They had this sort of like, you know, remember when like HD DVDs and Blu-rays were kind of first coming out, like that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But CDs were a totally new form of medium. You had tapes before that. So they were basically deciding like what size to make this thing. And there's a whole story about that. But they were competing on what standards should be. They were looking at somewhere in like a 10 to 11.5 centimeter, which would have put the CD capacity for audio storage at about 1 hour. However, the story is that one of at least 4 people, or maybe some combination of them, insisted that a single CD should be able to hold all of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. So the 4 people were the wife of Sony chairman Akio Morita, speaking up for her favorite piece of music, Sony VP Norio Aga, the company's point man on the CD development, recalling on his studies at the Berlin Conservatory, Mrs. Oga, her favorite piece too, and then a conductor, Herbert von Karajan, who recorded the Philips subsidiary Polygram, and whose Berlin Philharmonic recording of the Ninth clocked in at 66 minutes. So there was like internal debate within the companies about how long they should make the recordings capable. And Beethoven's Ninth Symphony was a huge factor in that. So they researched further to find that the longest recorded performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony was conducted by Wilhelm Furtwängler at the Bayreuth Festival in 1951. That play went on for 74 minutes. So they found that by expanding the size of the CD to 12 centimeters, Philips and Sony were able to make the recording length 74 minutes on a single disc. And that was long enough to hold the longest recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And that is why we have the size standard of CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays. You know, think about it. Video game, like Xbox, PS5, all this stuff.
But not GameCube.
Not GameCube, because that's weird. But that's why we have the size CDs that we have now, was to fit 74 minutes for Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
How about that?
Isn't that cool?
That's interesting.
So a whole backstory there that you didn't know. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, so I wanted to share that. That's all we got for this week. Thank you, everybody. We'll catch you next time, and right on.